Hey guys, welcome back to the Cod Tales podcast. And on this episode, we get to talk to Lincoln McBroom, one of the local legends from the Central West area. And it's someone you sort of bounce ideas off and go, hey, what about this? What about that? Blah, blah, blah. We get to talk to him about lure collecting, which is one of his passions. But suffering is fun.
Exactly. Talk about suffering, mate, that we also dibble on the grind of the big green girls through winter and the cold and wet elements we have to deal with to catch these awesome fish. But as well as a few snake encounters as well that we've come across in the river and a few platypus sightings, which is really cool to talk about.
Yeah, and get talking about, cod taking fish that you've hooked up and stripping scales and killing them on the end of your line, all that sort of fun stuff. And Linc losing a 10 grand fish.
Unlucky.
Unbloody lucky.
As well as a few mental health things at the end. Hope you're all listening to the end. It's a really good chat about how to talk to your mates, how to reach out and get a bit of help if you are struggling with a bit of head noise.
Amen. Let's get into it. On this week's Cod Tales podcast, we are talking to one of the local boys and local legends, Lincoln McBroom. Have a bit of a chuckle to yourself. Obviously, he doesn't think that of himself, but us two especially have a look up to him. He's been around fishing longer than I have, for sure, and he knows a lot, and he's good to have a yarn to. G'day, Linc. Say hello.
Yeah, g'day, mate. G'day. Local wannabe, mate. Local wannabe.
Mate, and I'll tell you, if you need to ask any questions about lures, this fella is the guy to go to, because I have not stumped him yet. No matter what lure I take to him, he knows exactly what it is, when it was made, what colour it is, all the rest.
That's exactly right. Look,
I'm a good bullshitter.
Gets me every time.
You've got a fair bit of a collection at home, don't you?
Yeah. I've been racking a few up over the years. Yeah, it's turned into a bit of a, let's call it an obsession or a sickness. Yeah, chase a few special ones.
I think we call those people collectors now.
Yeah, they've got a specific word.
Make it nice.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, no, that's good, mate. Look, how many lures do you reckon you got in your collection now?
My wife's going to hear this, mate. 10.
No, she won't. 10. He's flashing 10 digits lots of times.
Mate. So. I don't even keep a count. Look,
yeah,
too many. I'm turning into those blokes I used to see who started when I started collecting. Who you'd see him putting up things every now and then, a post on a forum, going, "Oh, I found these," and I was digging through the cupboard, and I'm like, Jesus, what sort of a bloke? Who forgets he got them? And it's starting to happen. So, starting to accumulate a bit too much.
Yeah.
A lot of them have never seen the light of day, and they certainly haven't seen water.
I'll tell you one thing, going through Luke Carney as a lure collector, and that's me boss. So his way of getting it through the wife is one day the kids are going to sell these lures and buy a house out of it.
Well, the kids are going to share a house.
Oh, hey man, 2-bedroom flat.
I've used the same flawed logic as well. Interestingly, I discovered a bit of a honey hole. I won't give too much away. The fellow wants to stay anonymous.
Yeah,
he was a big time a while ago. He's accumulated nothing like I've ever seen. Like, to say I saw $250,000 of lures is probably at least half of what it's really worth.
Wow. Okay.
And one specific maker that I'm keen on, stuff that no one's ever seen before, custom stuff. He knew the bloke. He was friends with him, and he wants to move it on. And I went and was privileged to see it all. And he eventually put a price on it, and I convinced him to keep it as a whole lot rather than split it up. I was just like, you've done too much work here. This is a lifetime's work. This fella.
Yeah, that's right.
And he got back and he'd done some costings and stuff, and he said, $80,000. And I just looked and thought, you've actually undervalued it.
Yeah.
But, relating it back to Bomber's logic about it's an investment for the kids.
Yeah.
He and the missus are at that point in life, and they're like, it's actually hard to move this stuff.
Yeah.
You've got to have the right person who wants it and knows it.
Yeah.
Right
way
dollars.
to do it.
And that's why he's sort of browned off a bit with the game and just wants his own quiet. And he's like, it'd be nice to clear out bit of shed space, bit of study space.
Yeah, well.
And if there's anyone out there with a spare 80 grand, I am accepting donations.
We'll start a GoFundMe.
It was special to see it. But yeah, I guess there's the interesting side of the obsession of getting into that niche interest of you love your fishing and suddenly you get this real attachment to lures, Aussie lures and makers,
Well, that's good to see. Like, you've obviously got an addiction with collecting lures, and it's great to see you're supporting your hobby through staring at lures as well. But
I went in off the water.
Look, what actually got you into the fishing industry, and like what made you want to chase fish?
Oh, mate, I think it's in my blood. It's probably generational. Definitely got it from an old man.
Yeah,
it's definitely a pastime and a passion that fellas pass on to their kids, no doubt. Having said that, I'm one of three boys. I'm the only bloke that's really got the passion.
Got the bug.
They'll have a go, but, you know, probably the once a year holiday stuff.
Yeah.
And they live closer to the ocean than I do too. I grew up on the coast, mid-north coast. The old man loved his fishing. He grew up pretty poor, I think, so a lot of his life was not just fishing, it was also putting on the table.
Yeah, that's right.
On the saltwater around the Manning River. So up around, we had a family property still up there on the Kalang River, up the mid-north coast.
Yeah.
We'd get down there, do a lot of drifting of the tide in that saltwater mud bank. We'd put the crab traps out in summer. And, you know, you pick up your usual, your brim, your flatties, occasional interesting stuff.
Yep.
And our real specific, what we love to do, or what he loved to do and drag us out, but we got to love it as well when we realised and got that skill, was working the gutters, working the moon, chasing winter tailor and jewfish. So a lot of that kind of stuff and big catches when the tailor run. So, you know, as a kid, as a teenager, at the time you're not enjoying it so much because you're standing there in the ocean to keep your feet warm because the air's so bitterly cold at 3 a.m. And every bloke out there listening who goes cod fishing in winter, you know that the coldest point in the day is right on daybreak.
Yeah.
And that sunrise when you're facing on the east coast out to sea and you're holding onto a 10, 12-foot stick with gang hooks out there in the gutter and you've been there all night. All night. You just want to get out of there. But I look back at it now and go, it was fun.
Yeah.
I did enjoy it at the time, but as a kid, you're also looking for the soft run. You know, I want to be home, I want to be in bed. Don't want to be eating tinned fish and shit out of a bag. I want to have a meal.
There's a funny thing that I heard a long time ago from a guy called Steve Ranella. If anyone knows who Steve Ranella is, he runs a thing called Meat Eater, and it's a fantastic show on Netflix. Go and watch it. Fantastic. But the one thing he said, I think it was they were hunting mule deer up in some mountainous area, and it was wet, it was miserable, it was cold, it was misting. I don't even think they got a deer that time. So they've been out for days and days camping, eating MREs, all that sort of stuff. And they're sitting down having deep thoughts and that sort of stuff. And he says that the highest grade of fun is suffering.
I can kind of get that. There's a real satisfaction or reward in going through the pain to get the goal.
Yeah, that's what he said. He's like, oh, look, roller coasters are super fun. Yeah. You go on them 10 minutes, best time. But in 10 years' time, you don't look back and say, remember that roller coaster we went on?
Yeah.
No, you sit back and go, remember that 5-day trek we did through the mountains to hunt mule deer and it was pissing down rain and then we caught no mule deer, we ran out of food.
Yeah.
How fun was that?
That's honestly pretty relatable to cod fishing, though.
That's right.
Oh,
like,
mate.
we put ourselves through the pace.
You had one of my mates in here, young red fella, talking, Jesse Grant, a while back, and the pain, the suffering. We got a story about a lightning strike, and I don't know how fucking close it was, but I felt heat across my back. It was that hot.
Yep.
And instant out of nowhere up on Copeton, and we got up there for a social weekend comp. With a heap, you know, that's the best part of fishing. You meet new blokes, you meet like-minded fellas. You're all there for some fun. You know, leave all the shit behind, shake off the dust of work and stress, and just get away. And you know, you fellas have got this mental health focus about. You know, this is a great place for fellas to look after themselves and each other.
Yeah,
in something that we're pretty bad at thinking about sometimes and looking after with our headspace.
Exactly.
But you get up and you meet these new blokes, you have good times, and. You know, it was for me, Jess will probably just shake his head, but for me, it felt life-threatening.
Yeah.
It really was a moment of fear.
Yeah.
And as we hit the deck, I literally hit the deck, threw the big swim bait rod down, going, Jesus, this thing's sticking in the air like a lightning rod. I've just felt heat across my shoulders. So it was behind us, but it was instant flash and boom. And I'm on my guts pulling up the Minn Kota and just going, go, 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 go. And so, and it's pissing down rain. So once we're on the plane, you can't see shit because the rain's stinging your eyes in the dark. It was dark. And you just follow on the worm on the sounder. And I'm just sitting there thinking, just get us home, please, just get us home. Like, fucking hell, like, we got kids, we got, the worst thoughts was, what are our missos going to do without us around, Yeah. And, you get back over there, and I'm a bit flighty, so even me, I'm like, as soon as we get there, like, don't stand in the water, just like as quick as you can on the land, like, water conducts lightning for another strike, just fucking get up. And I just bolted for the car, and, turns around a bit and like, where the fuck is he? He's just ginning around in the boat, dicking with fucking keys, and you forgot your smokes. He just casually walked up through the piss and rain, like, geez, you're a hard little bastard. but through, it's what you're saying. It's through that crazy stuff, that unexpected stuff while you're out adventuring. You get your good memories and your fun and a real sense of exhilaration, and sharing it with someone's even better.
I've actually got a story pretty similar to that. Like it scared the absolute shit out of me to the point where I've actually got it in photos on a canvas in my lounge room. And it was the first time I ever went bass fishing at Sinclair. And had the old tinny and used to move a bit. And same thing, like went up there in the middle of June because we wanted to catch a trophy bass. And me and Corey trekked up there, and we spent a week, absolute week up there. And as we were flying back to the main bowl, we fished our session and caught a couple of little bass and nothing crazy. But I'm talking, it was minus degrees. Like, I'm at a guess, probably minus 10. It was freezing. So at this stage, Corey had 3 jackets, 2 jumpers, and shirts and whatnot. Like, you could hardly cut.
Well, he's halfway there to what I wear in winter, mate.
Looking like the Michelin Man travelling down the the dam.
It was honestly that cold. We were up the Fallbrook Arm, I think it was. Anyway, flying back to camp, we're done our morning session. We want to get back, light a fire.
Yeah.
And I was that cold in behind him. I'm ducking behind him, trying to get out of the wind a little bit because it's open tinny, whatnot. And all I remember seeing is I'm looking up at him, right at his head, and I see this stick above his head. And I was like, where the fuck did that stick come from? All of a sudden, I've hit this tree. It was a tree. I was going flat and aggro. We done 50k an hour.
Wow.
I've hit this tree, and it has absolutely sent me flying. Like, the whole boat was out of the water. I watched Corey do a backflip out of the boat into this ice cold water in the middle of winter.
Wow.
And it gets better because that morning we seen our first eel, and I mean, it was 8-10 foot long. It was enormous, and we're like, imagine being in the water with that thing.
Your wish is granted.
As he's flown in, I've gone, oh shit, and I've done the panic button. It was the dumbest thing I could do. I've stayed in the boat, lost rods, lost tackle. First thing I thought was, fuck, I've got to get back to him. So I've jumped back and I've slammed the boat into reverse. And as I've gunned it, I've gone, he's still underwater. So I've knocked it back into neutral and turned it off. And here he is floating up. And he's like, oh, get me in the boat, get me in the fucking boat. And I'm like, yeah, sweet. He's like, just get me out of the eels. And that's all he said. And I was like,
didn't bother about the cold.
So I've jumped him in the boat and I said, mate, you want to go fast or slow back to camp? Because it's ice. He said, look, just surprise me and just do it. So
like a band-aid.
I've legged it back and we've got there and left the firelighters out. So they're wet and poor bastard. We ended up driving into, I think it was Musselbrook, just to get him some clothes from Vinny's because he would have died.
Wow.
And just that lightning strike and that. And it's the same thing. Like, those are the stories that stick out in your head and go, you know what, that was fucking awesome.
Better than sitting on the couch.
Oh, yeah.
You got no memory sitting on the couch watching screens and doing nothing.
No, that's right.
It's just reminded me of our good friend Lawsy getting cold in the middle of winter. Oh, I forget what dam he was at. But he was fishing out with the boys and whatever else. I forget the scenario, but he lost a rod over the side while it must have been vertically in a tree. Anyway, they're like, shit, what do we do? Anyway, they sanded up this rod. They managed to find the rod sitting in the tree.
Yeah, right.
On the sounder. And it was 4 metres down. Don't quote.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember this? Yeah. Don't quote me, but about 4 metres down, they found this rod sitting in the tree. So that must have hooked on one of the limbs, and they could just see the line of the rod on the down scan in the tree. And he's psyching himself up. He's like, I think it was a brand new rod, and that's why he was so particular about it. He's like, do I strip off and get it? Do I try and get another hook and fish it up? So I think they tried to hook it with another rod. No success. Anyway, Fisheries rocks up. And they're like, hey, boys, how you going? You look a little bit lost. Oh, yeah, mate, just dropped a rod off here and it's 4 metres down there and I can see it on the sounder, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh, yeah. He's like, I'm going to strip off and get it. They're like, nah, mate, do not do that. That'll send you into hypothermia. It is that cold.
Actually, it was down south, wasn't it? Burrinjuck or something?
I can't remember if it was Burrinjuck or Wangler or wherever. But anyway, Fisheries talked to him. No, don't do it, mate. Anyway, we got to go. See you later. And then he's just like, nah, fuck it. I'm going to do it. So he jumps off the boat in the middle of winter after losing this rod in a tree, dives down 4 metres to get it and comes back up. And he said it was the worst decision.
But he got the rod.
He got the rod.
Righto.
That's good.
I can throw on the table. We're talking funny stories that you might talk fishing and that. And you two boys were sort of connected to it. You were both out there that morning. I think you'd pissed off. I was working the edges for some cod with Jess one morning. Same fella, red fella.
Yep.
And he's done a lot of duck diving. I think he just likes getting his rig out, mate. He likes to get the gear off in his little maroon footy shorts. And fucking down he goes. You see this little garden gnome just burying down into the water, disappearing. He's saved me many dollars on swim baits. Like, I'm a champion at jagging up swim baits.
Swim baits, yeah.
Anyways, it was swim bait and throwing swim baits around, and you boys had turned up that morning to sort of say good day. I don't know what you were chasing. You can turn up a bit later. We were there before sun up, and it was just after sunrise.
That was a Burrendong.
It was Burrendong, and it wasn't far from the ramp, and it was fucking cold. It was cold. It was proper winter cod fishing, and we didn't have any success. We had an interesting bump at one stage, but that's not the point. And Jess is up on the front deck. I'm traditionally down the back, dicking around with the remote control and sort of skippering us along and flicking and fella up the fronts, prospecting forward. Anyways, I got a habit of breaking min coders and being roughing them and whatever else. I don't know why I bother buying them.
Yes, no, we've heard the story about Frank that's sitting on the front of Red's
Frankenstein.
boat.
Frank's I donated body parts to Frank from one I blew up. There's nothing like 45 k's an hour in Windermere and your min coder just deploys for no reason over the bow. Anyways, that's another funny story. Yeah. But I somehow managed to cock up steering and I just overturned so sharp, so fast, and red fella's up the front, no clue it's coming. And I just see him going. He's up the front and these two hands are out the side doing little circles and one of them's holding his U-Butte Miller rod and everything else, and he's going. He's going backwards and it's fucking cold. And all I could think to do, it's like slow motion, everything slows down, is I just, almost as casual, just reached over and grabbed his fishing rod and watched him go in. I was like, we can't let that go. So Miller rod's safe, or, good $1,000 worth of, Arbu beast and Miller rod and swim bait. Yeah. And Red's in the drink and it's fucking cold. So pulls him back aboard, to the old hand crossover. In you come, little fella. And he's fucking cold. I'll give him my hoodie. I'm wearing honestly, you were saying, Corey, layers up. I'm a bit like, I must have a bit of OCD because I count my layers on when I cod fish. Yeah. I've got my layers on my bottom, I've got my layers on my top, and I wear a lot of undershirts, and long sleeves. I end up about 8 layers on the top. Multiple T-shirts.
8 layers?
Yeah. I'll kick off with a merino layer.
That'd be just like I was just stepping on a boat hugging your missus. You'd be warm as shit.
And I'm not a little boy either, so they get tight. When the last layers go on, they are stretched like a fucking rubber band around a beach ball by the end of it. Anyways, I had a big hoodie on over the top, and so, he's got to take all his gear, his layers off the top, and he's still wearing fucking shorts because that's Jesse in winter. I'll give him the hoodie, and he looked like he's wearing a dress because he's pretty short compared to me, and I'm many, many sizes larger than him in girth too, so he's wearing this huge hoodie. It was quite comical. And that's not the end of the story, like with Corey. So it's freezing. It wasn't long to go in the session anyways. The window was closing on the bite if there was going to be one.
Yeah.
We goes back to the car. We'll get you in there, mate. We'll kick her over. I'll get the heater cranked up. We'll be fine. We'll drive back that 80 k's. Happy days. Boat's on. Away we go. Get up the top of the park before we get out of the gate. And he's put the window down for some reason on the electric, on the old wagon, the Land Cruiser of mine, the 25-year-old tank. Works a treat, except this day. He put his window down and he did what he ever did. I don't know what he was doing. And then he goes, put it up. Rocker doesn't work. I'm like, so I try my master one, and rocker doesn't work. So we did 80 k's at 100, 110 k an hour, on a winter's morning, all the way back to Dubbo with the red fella who's been drenched in Burrendong. He's frozen solid, and then we froze him just a little bit more.
He didn't jump in the back on the opposite side behind you?
No, he just sat up there. And he's hard, mate. He's hard.
Just fronted it.
I don't know many blokes harder.
Yeah.
But I totally stooged his day out with that trip. Yeah.
Just the picture of him sitting up there with your jumper on around his knees.
Yeah, it was, mate. It was over the knees.
It just reminds me of Aaron. He will be up the front of the boat in the morning cod fishing with his bloody garlic bread hoodie on.
Yeah, I'm telling you, invest in an hoodie. It is the best thing. You might look like a big yellow fluffy duck.
Sinking through the winter fog, you boys on the water look like fucking druids or something out there practicing dark magic.
No one's hitting me, I stand out like dog's balls.
Yeah.
Big yellow hoodie, mate. Yeah, get it. We're not sponsored by hoodie, I'm telling you, but get on them.
Yeah, I'm always looking for solutions. There's blokes that are probably listening who are cod fishers for that winter bite. And it's a real problem to get yourself snug, because when you're in the zone and you can just focus on the fishing, it's great. But if you haven't got the right gear, it can be real hard.
100%. And I was actually just going to ask you, like for me, you mentioned merino. So what do? I get the merino thermals, the long johns underneath, the long johns on top. Brilliant. Because the thing with merino that I didn't realise until I bought them was even when merino gets wet, it keeps you warm. So if you start sweating, it wicks the sweat away from you.
Yeah.
And keeps you warm.
That's
right. Like, bang on. Righto, bought them. I got the long johns. And then I go for a T-shirt over that. Then I go for a fishing shirt. They're fishing.
That'll keep you warm.
Supposed to keep you cool.
It's just for looks when you're taking your jacket off to get that 3-second photo while you're shivering your ass off. Then I go jumper and jacket, and after that, I reckon once at least get a windproof layer in there somewhere.
Yeah.
And I reckon that cuts out like 90%.
It does help, yeah.
Like I have to go windproof layer and then a jacket over the top. I reckon it just holds that heat in underneath that windproof jacket, like doesn't let the heat out.
You boys use the electric jackets, the heated jackets?
Nah, not yet.
I grabbed one a couple of seasons ago. Really good investment, and I made sure if anyone's interested in maybe helping themselves out, because I was battling with the cold. You know that cold that hurts and you get the deep shudders?
Yeah.
I've had long sessions where you get the deep shudders, and anyone medical listener says you had hypothermia, dickhead. But the deep shudders, once you got them, they don't leave. You just sit and rock, and it's involuntary. And you push through it and you fish. That's why we call it the grind, whatever's going on, cold or hot. You grind it out. You're always after that next fish.
Yeah.
But for any fellow who's listeners and tried it, I got a fairly snug fit on purpose to be able to fit in these layers and then put another layer over top, because initially I had the heated jacket on top of everything and it worked.
Yeah.
But that outside exposed with all these little, must be wires running through them in the pads around your chest to get some heat into your core.
Yeah.
I think that there's the heat exchange when it's exposed to the cold air. So another jacket over top zipped up and it's another shell on top of. So
that's right.
I got the merino, I got multiple layers, I got that heated jacket, and it's not on permanent. Like it's when you notice you're cold, I just flicker on. Look, they got a button on them or something. You look like Iron Man when they light up.
Yeah.
And if you can get through the gloves to feel where the button is.
Just come out glowing through the mist.
Yeah. Many times I sit in the boat with my other regular rubes, and every time it never gets old. I am Iron Man as you power this thing up with the red light. But that extra cap over top of keeping that air chill off it.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And just run it temporarily. Just run it for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And it just keeps you temp where it needs to be, because I've had a couple of nights where things didn't go bad, but I know that if you presented it in an ED room, they'd be putting a silver blanket over you probably.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
And that is a handy thing to have in the boat as well, because if one of you goes in the drink, you need to strip off, keep that blanket safe.
You can't leave a good bite, so get in that blanket and shut up.
And the other thing that comes with it too, like I'm getting old. I'm getting flighty about this stuff and thinking about, geez, it's just fishing. It's fishing, but it's just fishing. You got to get home every time.
Yeah.
I'll leave the bite if I've got to leave the bite, but you still got significant travel. One of my favourite waterholes is Windermere. And if you do the maths from some of that bottom of the basin where I love to go, you do the maths on time to get back to a ramp, you know, even if it's an emergency, fuck the boat, ditch it, get in a vehicle and then get yourself into somewhere with some medical help.
Yep.
You could be talking about close to an hour.
That's right.
Yeah,
and a lot can happen. If something's gone bad, you need as much time on your side as you can rather than covering distance. So you're right. I always keep a first aid kit in the tub. I've got a shock blanket in there as well and a few other bits and pieces.
That's right.
But you just never know what's going to happen. You don't want it to happen. You plan for it to be good.
No, that's right.
But you always got to be ready for just in case. I always joke. If the missus listens to this, she'll know. She'll roll her eyes. But I always tell her wherever I'm going, I say, we're going over to Burrendong and we're going over to Windermere. Yeah. Tell them to look for the pink life jacket. You know, when they're looking for the bodies, look for the pink life jacket. So I intentionally buy pink life jackets too.
Yeah.
I figure they're higher vis. You know, whatever. Always have your life jackets and check them.
Yeah.
But you know, it's just a bit of a joke. But I am mindful all the time of I want to come home
for sure.
I want to come home in one piece, and I want every bloke along with me the same story.
Yeah. 100%.
Like I was saying to Dane once upon a time, I said, mate, the number one thing I carry nearly before a first aid kit in the river is a snake bite kit.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like,
yeah, right. I've never even thought of that, you know?
Yeah.
Always take a snake bite kit because I've had a lot of encounters on the river. And I was saying to Dane one day, it was Easter, so it's cold, and I went under a log and it was that low to the water. I had to push myself, lay my kayak seat down and push myself underneath it. And as I went under it, there was a hollow and I could see a red belly.
There you go.
And I was like, there's a red belly black snake in that thing. So,
hello.
And same thing, I was with Corey. I'd obviously fished a lot in my life with Corey. And he's amazed with photography. So all he wanted to do was get on this bank and take photos of this snake and log. And he's shaking orgy plows in front of it and firing it up. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, yeah, so I've got through the other side of the log.
I'm picky with me offsiders. I reckon Corey get one run with me, it sounds like, and maybe no invite back, mate. I'm not a big fan of the Joe Blakes.
I've actually got a real quick funny story about a snake on a bank with Corey. Yeah. We both stirred each other. It was a brown. So we had a brown in a root ball on the bank. We're both in kayaks. And river's obviously pumping. So you've only got 50% of control in a kayak when it comes to current. And he said, get its head to stick up so I can get a good photo of it. And I said, yeah, righto. So I paddled enough to dangle a lure over the top of its head and try and get it to stand up. And as I'm doing this, I'm like, this is the dumbest thing I've done for a long time. And anyway, it's eventually stood up. And as I've gone to push my kayak out, he's started to take photos. Well, this thing sprung like a spring and landed straight in the water, and he reckons it was like white turbulence. I had me paddle fucking going like a paddle steamer. I'm trying to go in reverse.
Jeez,
and he was like, mate, the snake was doing nowhere near you. He was going the opposite direction. I said, I don't give a shit. All I could see was white water.
You know, the whole time as an older bloke, I'm just thinking to myself, two young fellas, you tick a lot of boxes of high risk category. If you ever wonder why your insurance policies say high, mate, just think of those stories.
I feel sorry for me old girl.
I can talk about tempting fate. Jeez. I don't do them. You know, backtracking to the snake bite thing, it's a really good thing, interesting you talk about that. But you were referring to in your river run.
Yeah, like me river.
I actually got a video of it on my phone a number of years ago here at Burrendong. Mate, she would have been a K each way. I was over on the old Macquarie Run, the old timberline. Dam would have been pretty full, maybe 60, 70%. And I've been working yellers in the spring bite on my own all day, having a good day. Yeah. And just saw something moving in the water in amongst the trees. And I was like, it's a bit weird, cool. Sort of wildlife. Went over, had a look. She was 5 foot plus brown snake out in the middle of nowhere. I'm like, where the fuck has that come from? And where the fuck are you going to out here? You guys don't swim. You're dryland snakes, everyone tells me. Swimming as confident as you like. I'd gone over on the electric mode to have a look, and as soon as he saw me, I don't know if he was tired, but he made a beeline for the boat. Yeah, he was right there. I think maybe he was thinking he's like a island.
Yeah. I'm tired, let me in.
So my footage stops, and you can hear the men coated neck whirring fast and hard to be getting the fuck out of there. And I was grabbing the net. The only thing I could think of, I could actually, like, if this thing come up over the transom, like, fucking
Put it in the
get
net.
it off. So, yeah, it was a K each way, nearest points from Crossway. So, yeah, probably
Wow.
don't even discount a snake bite kit in your dam runs.
Yeah, well, that's right. Yeah. Snakes are a big thing, and it incorporates a lot with fishing, like whether you're walking a bank, kayak, boat, whatever.
Yeah.
I've seriously seen a snake. This is no word of a lie. I've seen a snake get in the back of a kayak. This is Corey. In saying that, I didn't see it get in there, but it was in there.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times I've seen snakes in kayaks, back when I was actually fit enough to paddle a kayak, they used to, if they got tired, they'd beeline to you. All the time,
right.
and you'd be
You're the-
smacking your paddle trying to get them to
you're the rest point.
piss off.
Oh, well, I reckon that boy was doing that. Another mate of mine who's a narrow-minded fella, I taught him as a kid actually years ago, and he's a teacher himself nowadays in the countryside just over at Gulgong. He tells the story going back out there a few years back to Narromine and doing surface fishing, having a great time whacking a few greenies in his kayak. And he brought one up between his legs and it regurgitated a juvenile live red belly right between his legs.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've got a.
I was just about to ask that. Have you boys ever, like,
I
filleted
haven't seen
cod
it.
or gutted cod and seen snakes or anything like that? But
No, I haven't. I don't feel it cod, mate. I'm a bit of a softie. I like putting them back.
I've kept maybe a handful over my lifetime.
I've seen
That's
photos, I've heard stories, and
Yeah.
Sammy's a good, reliable source, and it's just one of his, funny fishing yarns. Fucking, there's a red belly between my legs.
Well,
you see those
I've actually
bass?
got a photo of a cod, and I've got the cod on a lure, and I've got a baby red belly black snake that he regurgitated in my kayak.
There you go.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
There's a lot of red bellies from Narromine down to Warren. There's a heap
Yeah,
of
a
red
lot
bellies
of
of
them.
Warren.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
funny when you talk to Westerners and you're like, we got red belly black snakes. They're like, no, you mean yellow belly. No, they're red belly
red
black
bellies.
snakes. They just never seen one before. They're out here like plagues.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that many on the property here, like sunning themselves in rock down near the river.
You
It's
got some, I
unreal.
was going to say they're a snake, frog eater.
Yeah.
So anywhere you got
Yeah.
a bit of water, they'll be around because they love frogs. We had them
Frogs.
all over the farm I grew up, and I was mentioning earlier, and tangled with them many, many times on the swamp flats and stuff, and down at the saltwater too. And saltwater doesn't scare them; they'll swim across the river.
Yeah, yeah.
Very confident animals that way. But seen them. I used to think they were rooting, but it turns out the two males fight when they wrap around each other. And
Oh, right. Yeah,
I had a-
Oh, they're fighting.
yeah. Apparently they're fighting.
One of the F words, anyway.
Yeah. You were asking me before I came in, talking about, how I got started fishing. And so I was saying, like, most of my fishing was saltwater growing up. But sort of key points for me to become this bloke that's just obsessed with getting out there chasing these freshwaters. And I honestly reckon that I love freshwater fishing so much more than saltwater. I enjoy it too.
Yeah.
There was just a mystique and a mystery to it. Growing up, the old man had a heap of fishing tackle for all sorts of scenarios, and he had one tackle box which was freshwater lures. And I used to sit in that room. We were never allowed to touch this. We were never stay away from that. They had all the old floppies and all your classic sort of stuff in there, untouched, unfished, unopened.
Yeah.
And you don't touch that. And I used to wish he'd take us for a bit of a run. But it wasn't too far up the mountain. There was trout country up around the Dorrigo through to the
Lovely,
New England,
yep.
and bass right on my doorstep. I never even knew. I wish I'd known growing up. A couple of my mates at high school were bass fishermen,
Yep.
but I never got a chance to go and hang with them and learn that then.
Yeah.
Really into it now. Anyways, I'd go down into the room where he kept these tackle boxes, and I would just, when he wasn't around, go through and just like look at these bright coloured, weird shaped things. I wasn't a lure fisherman, I was a bait fisherman. The closest I'd send you a lure is like your silver spinners you pull behind the boat through the chop for Taylor or whatever else, Trevally. And I just like, what the hell would eat these things? What the fuck are these for? They were tadpoles, things for trout, along with this other stuff. I didn't really know what they were for. So maybe that's where the lure addiction interest come from nowadays
of course,
too.
Yeah.
But
It's the
a
old
couple of
forbidden fruit from you.
maybe it was the psychologists are fucking writing down notes furiously now. So I went to uni at Armidale. I did a teaching degree. I'm a chalky. Funnily enough, I'm a marine studies teacher nowadays. So a bit of what I teach kids is fish anatomy and fishing and marine construction. And landed on my feet there. I love it. But I snuck a few of these lures that looked, from what I understood, from the fishing mags and stuff as freshwater. And I knew there were these beautiful streams you'd drive over when I'd go back up to uni at Armidale. I'd sort of try to find places to get off the side of the road and have a flick, and you could actually see trout in the streams. It was crystal clear up there, not big streams, but crystal clear, and you could see the fish. Could never hook them. And I found this one real good place a bloke put me onto up this Gara Dam or some such thing. And I went in there, trekking through, down through the reeds and the rushes, magnificent stream, and throwing lures. And I was like, this is going to be the day I finally catch trout. And out of nowhere on the opposite bank, and the river would have been 5 or 6 metres wide, if that, and rushing, that beautiful crystal clear cold tableland stuff. And this pair of red bellies, they were 5, 6 footers, they were thick, and they were proper adults. Right. And they were charging down the steep bank on the other side, straight toward me. And I'm like, Christ almighty, what the hell's happening here? And I fucking started, because it was a bit of a cutting and rocks and shit to get down to where I was at. So I had to sort of start climbing, and fuck, the old man's going to kill me if I lose these lures. I've pinched for the weekend run. I'll sneak them back in the box when I get home. And it turns out, these two snakes were fighting, and one of them drove the other one into the river, and he's swimming across toward me, and I'm out of there. I'm out of there, scrambling up rocks, this fat boy going up rocks. Must have been a sight. Eventually, the other snake got halfway across in that stream, and he turned downstream and pissed off and disappeared in reeds, but the other fella sat on the other side of the river on the rocks in the sun, and he just stared at me. He was just head flat, pissed off. Yeah. You don't belong here. That fucker's gone. You go too. Next. So that was, and I did. I didn't hang around. I thought this thing is one of the most fired up snakes I'd ever seen. Yeah. Angry animal for a red belly. They're supposed to be shy, but no, this bloke.
No, I've never seen a shy one. Like when it comes to red belly blacks, like it's pretty easy to piss them off.
I reckon they'll either stay,
especially with Norgie Plough dangling over their head.
Most of the time I'll come across they either stay dead still, or they're a little bit spring back on you, and you're like, ooh, right.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever, staying on the snake topic for a minute, have you guys ever seen the pythons that get on the Macquarie?
I was just about to say that. No. I've tied up to a willow tree before. So you know how you grab a bunch of willows and you fold it back and you tie a rope around it, and you can pretty much stay in the current there, just on the edge of the willows. Yeah. I used to love doing that when I was a young fella.
Yep.
And dropping yabbies or worms down next to them for yellers. Well, one day, tied off to a willow tree, fishing away. All of a sudden, the willow tree started rustling a little bit. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? Look up, and here's this carpet snake wrapped around in the willows. Yep. I must have tied him up in the willows when I was grabbed it, tied it up, and wrapped it around the rope. And he's struggling to get out of this wrapped up willows, and I'm fucking tied up to him. And I don't mind snakes. I've kept snakes before, beautiful animals, but when you're that close, and he wasn't small.
Yeah, a lot of them
starting to get pissed off.
I've probably seen 20 on the Macquarie, like all the time, and they're always in willows. I've never seen them on the ground in anything else. It's always willow trees.
Yeah,
there you go. I've done 20 plus years out here, and I've never seen a single python anywhere around here, let alone on the river. They probably haven't been looking.
They blend in unreal.
I've actually got a cracking video, and this includes, going back to Uncle Russ, actually. It was the first time I'd ever seen one. This is going 15 years ago. We've got a video on the old Nokia E63. But I shit
all
you not.
All of 8 pixels on the fucking screen.
I'm sitting, Corey's at the front, I'm in the middle, and Uncle
He was
Russ
drunk. It's just the old snake game off it, mate.
Yeah. And he's like, and Corey's going to tie in this straight, and same thing. It was a little. It was only probably a 3-4 footer. Like, it was not a big. 4 foot's probably too big. 3 foot. Yeah. And Uncle Russ was like, straight up, "Go on, boys, grab it." And I was like, "Are you crazy?" Like, and he's like, "No, this is a life lesson right here. And this is one thing I've learned off him. God bless him. He made us be patient. He said, the slower you move to that snake's head, the slower you move to you. You move quick, he'll bite you." And
right, yeah.
I stuck my hand in this willow tree and I went as slow as I possibly could to the point I was touching the snake. His head was behind my thumb, and I just put my fingers under him and picked him up. Mate, we played with that snake for the next 2 hours. He was the most placid thing I've ever had, like in a snake. And he was like, "You treat them nice, I'll treat you nice.
There you
go. If you piss them off, they'll bite you."
Yeah.
And, mate, we took this thing home. We kept it for the next 12 months. And we let it go. But,
all those psychologists with their notes are saying, yeah, that's right, that's co-regulation. They're regulating off you, yeah.
But it was one of the most coolest experiences.
That's
like,
wild.
It was one of those ones where the fear factor was beating through my chest. And I'm like, I'm about to get bitten by a snake. And it was honestly awesome. Like, we had this snake in our hands and its tongue was coming out and touching us. And he's explaining it. Like, that's just it getting to know you. You're not a threat. It's not going to do nothing.
There's that suffering quote. There's that going through the adrenaline, pushing your boundaries, going through the fear barrier.
Yeah.
That's exactly what you're talking about. And here's the memories. You know, this is the good stuff. Getting away from all the mundane, routine stuff you got to do and making the time to do this stuff.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. It was honestly worth it. And now, every time I see a python, I've got to pick it up. It's just they're such a cool snake. There's no way I'd go doing that to a black or a brown.
No.
You keep that.
Those, is it an actual carpet python or are they just a python?
They're called inland carpet pythons.
Yeah, they're honestly a really nice creature when you don't piss them off.
But have you seen how big they can get?
Oh, 100%. So I know the podcast is live, but this is it.
Oh, yeah.
This is the photo of it wrapped up in the tree.
Literally showing inland carpet python.
This is good listening.
This is a photo of us holding it and playing it. Oh, that's a cod. But
the reason why we do radio, mate, is
pretty
because we got faces for radio. That's why we don't record
Speak for yourself, mate.
Exactly.
I'm batting them off with a stick over here.
It was honestly really cool. Like, as you can see, there's a photo of me holding it. And
that's neat, isn't it?
Mate, they were...
It's pretty.
Unreal colours in it.
Yeah.
Absolute unreal colours.
That's a stunning looking animal, eh?
So he wasn't a big one. I have honestly seen some proper big ones that are as thick as your forearm. But
well, there you go. I've never seen a python in the... Don't even do the maths on the hours I've spent out there.
But see, as you can see in the background, it's a willow tree.
Yeah,
right. Always in willow trees.
Well, you know,
I reckon it's probably just the young ones that sit in there, I reckon. Because I haven't seen many huge ones sit in willow trees. But
no, neither have I.
On the property here down on the river, we have a well and it's surrounded by huge gum trees. And just a side note, one of the boys across the road the other day, being a couple of months back in cod season, last week of cod season, he caught a metre something just in front of that place.
Cool.
I've never seen a metre out of here before, but that fella found it.
That's
good
cool.
on him. Anyway, going down to the well, had to check the pump. Wasn't pumping for some reason, had a leak. Looked up this tree, and there's this carpet python, and it would have been about a 1 foot round stump he was wrapped around, and this thing would have had to have been 10 foot, maybe longer.
That's cool.
He's cool. Scared the shit out of me. I wouldn't have gone anywhere near him. His head would have been like the size of my fist.
There's the start of a horror movie, mate. Like a series of disappearances, and then the horror of it up around the house, mate, taking everyone out.
Has anyone seen Anaconda?
And that's a good point to make before we finish this subject. Is I'm not telling everyone to grab a python.
God no.
But yes, it does happen. They are nice, but don't go grabbing them and then message us.
Sorry, you can't flash that, but we need insert disclaimer here. We accept no liability for reptile-related injuries incurred on the river.
It all started from my old girl having an absolute phobia of snakes, and I wanted to take one home to her, but we never got that far because I wouldn't be here talking on a podcast if I did.
Talk about spiders, but you're out of the room.
Oh yeah, no.
I heard you boys talk about spiders a while back there with the spring bite and whatnot, and your swags.
Yeah, that's shit house.
You know, we go back to that mental health core side of things too, though, and I've ticked off a lot of things. I've always loved wildlife and being outdoors, and I was that kid that picked up the spiders and stuff and lifted up the rocks looking for stuff to bring them home. And because we live right next to the bush where our property is, we had 50,000 acres of state forestry, so you spent a lot of time.
That's unreal.
Yeah, just on the motorbikes and doing dumb stuff. You know, probably lucky to be here sometimes when you think about what you got up to. But a lot of wildlife out here. That time on the water when you're going out and doing what you're doing, there's just all these benefits on the side, all these secondary positives that happen while you're chasing that fish. The amount of platypus you spend time on the water seeing around here more than people might realise.
Thank you for bringing it up.
Yeah.
That is something that a lot of people don't realise around Dubbo. Like, they don't realise there is platypus here.
Plenty, and very curious. They'll come up if you're nice and quiet. They'll actually come and check you out. They must be inquisitive about what you are.
Yep.
I've actually used them as clues to bang a couple of good cod.
Really?
Yeah. We saw one morning, and I dropped a big fish. I was out with Big Des.
Big Desi,
Yeah, up near the fingers.
Right. Yep.
We'll talk about the fingers later. And I'd been fishing all day, and nothing was going on. And he'd said at the start of the run, "You've got a knot in your leader. You better sort that out." I was like, yeah, whatever. We're not going to catch any fish today. And we fished and we fished and we flicked and we flicked. And I had these twin spin bloody Colorado blade things on, flicking out, rolling back. There's nothing going on. Up around this spot, locals call the nursery.
Yeah.
Always known for some pretty good fish. Nothing was going on. We've been past it and we come back. And out of nowhere, right toward the end of the afternoon, the rod just buckled. And it was a proper fish. It wasn't just a river rat. And I'm like, "Fucking you, beauty." And I think even Desi said at the time, "Oh, you're not going to get in with that knot." I don't know if he said it or not, or if it was after, because it was only on the line for a good 5-10 seconds, a proper fight. I was like, fuck, this is going to be a good fish. And I hadn't whacked a metre at that stage either, so I was really optimistic that this thing's got weight like I haven't felt.
Yeah.
And the knot in the leaders just pulled itself through, just burned itself off, with that intense weight, that load.
Yeah.
She's just sheared off, and I'm saying all sorts of special words after that. We never saw the fish. He wasn't too far away. But, it haunted me. It haunted me.
Yeah.
And I went up the next weekend with Rubes, and we fished, and we had a bit of success here or there. I can't remember how good it was. It couldn't be that good because no big fish, but it's always fun just getting out.
Oh,
but that morning in that same spot, I noticed above the log where I'd dropped this fella, platypus popped up there early sunrise, and he's just skimming around the surface, and he's just checking shit out. And I was like, how cool is that? That we're just, these guys are just popping out. There's not a sound to be heard, bit of bird life. And there's this dude just cruising around. He doesn't care about us. We don't care about him. And then the brain started ticking. Wonder if cod eat platypus. Maybe they like a warm breakfast. And we never got nothing that day, but then the next weekend or so after was that Pertec challenge thing. And so anytime I went into it that year, we'd register, let's do this Pertec challenge. It's a good fundraiser. I think it's prostate cancer. Out we goes. And I had a plan, and I knew they had these bloody rat lures, these real lifelike looking rat lures that swim on the surface.
Yeah.
So I thought, I'll put a water rat, because we've seen some water rats around the river plenty of times too. They're a great little animal, little native. And I wanted to work on this area where that platypus was and where I dropped this fish. Same spot. Let's see how we go. And fucking Rubes managed to sky his bloody surface lure right up into a tree. How he did it, I'll never know. And so we go over on the motor, and I lock it on the spot, and he's on one of these extendable pole pigtail tacklebacks, getting his thing back. And I'm like, fuck it. I'm just going to throw lures back over that spot, because I sort of felt like it had half been spoiled. And first cast, I zinged her out and slapped her down on the water and started walking her back. Boof. Massive big boof. And I'm like, fuck yeah. And he hooked up. And Rob was buckling. Rob was bending. And pulling him out of snags, he was not a happy fish.
Yeah.
Got him in, didn't get my meter, but he was a 93, and I suspect it may have been that one maybe that I dropped. But it was those little clues about, these guys, surely they eat something that big like a platypus. This thing, right where that fellow was I dropped.
Yeah.
And just thought, let's put a warm breakfast out. Let's put a mammal-looking thing out there on the lures. First cast, that thing hit the water, and big, fat old, they get that nice blue colour to them when they get big.
Yep.
You turn from the green paisley to the proper blue they get when they're sizable.
Yeah, that blue's what you're chasing for, eh?
Yeah. When you see a blue snout, you know you're in the zone. You're getting toward 100 centimetres or more. Yeah. But you're proper fish when they're blue.
What size do you reckon that starts? I'm back in high 80s.
I've had some 80s out of Warren that were blue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You get that blue tinge. But once you get them in the boat and they're in there for 30 seconds, they lose it.
Yeah.
They change it a bit.
It's just in the water. The fellas listening who know.
Oh, yeah.
But it's sort of this silvery grey blue rather than the green and yellow paisley. It's a really interesting phenomenon the big fellas get.
Yeah.
Cod Mac, if you're listening.
Yeah, let us know.
Let us know. You've seen more meteries than all us combined in probably a day. But surely, I wonder is it a Murray or is it just a Macquarie? I know out of a dam you do get that blue tinge.
I've seen them out of a few dams, and I've seen the blue on them, all of them pretty much consistently. Windermere, they get a bit darker. I think it's the clear water.
Yeah.
I've got a pretty one. The biggest one I caught's pretty. He was a pretty looking fish.
Yeah.
Where was he? Ben Chifley.
I've definitely seen the like that.
I know
deep,
you've been talking to.
I've definitely seen that real deep blue out of the Murrumbidgee before on a few fish. Like,
Yeah.
I've got a good mate down Canberra and he fishes Murrumbidgee, a few dams around there. States have got that real nice blue colour down there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. But definitely bigger fish. Never seen it in anything under 85.
Nah, I've had a trout cod here in the town strip once that was in the 70s. He was a big trout cod.
Yeah.
And he wasn't paisley, but he was closer to blue, but I still wouldn't call it the same blue, but he was more blue than green.
Yeah.
And he was only in the 70s, but again, different fish.
Yeah.
So there's probably a bit of variance there.
Yeah. Actually, going back to Knots and Desi.
Yes.
So me and Desi did a kayak run from Butlers all the way down to Sandy Beach. And if you're local, you know exactly how long that is. And it took us about 8 hours, something like that. We started early and got there late. Anyway, halfway through the run, there's this awesome spot, huge, sharp rock face.
I know it.
On a sharp bend.
Isn't it good?
And then it peels out into a second corner. So it's pretty much like almost like a chicane.
That'd be just above Butlers, right?
and a big
Or
back
just an
and a
S
big
bend.
back rolling eddy behind it.
That's right.
Yeah.
So
It's a cracker. It's a good one.
me and Desi are sitting there in our kayaks, and he's got on a spinnerbait, and he's flicking it across this rock. Anyway, I hear his spinnerbait hit the wall, and he goes, "Oh fuck!" And I was like, "What's up, mate?" He's like, "The whole fucking FG knot just gave way." And I was like, "Oh fuck, yeah, that's no good, buddy. Lose a lure or whatever." Anyway, I'm not tied off to this log, but I'm peppering this log as I go past. There's this huge log coming out of the water and a big willow tree behind it. Anyway, he's tied his FG knot, tied on a new spinnerbait, whatever else. I'm down probably 200 metres at this point by the time he's fixed all this. And he's peppered this same log I just peppered with a spinnerbait. I think I was using an orgy or something at that point. Bang. "Don't get up here, get up here." He's going off his head, off his rocker at this log, and it is a huge bend in the rod. I'm like, what the hell is happening here? Come up, and he's pulling up this fish next to the kayak, and I called it for a meatery. I went, Jesus.
That's a big boy.
It's a big boy. But he lip gripped it twice. It broke the lip grips twice. So he ended up just picking it up, putting it in his lap, and he's like, I can't paddle. I've got to hold onto this fish.
He's just drifting.
I was like, mate. So I had to hold onto his kayak, paddle with one hand
Wow.
all the way down to this sandbank,
Good fish.
pull up, get all the happy snaps and whatever else, measuring him. And I think he goes, it's either 94 or 96. I always get mixed up.
Yeah.
Lovely fish. But if he had caught that fish just a couple of casts earlier,
Yeah, game over.
game over, wouldn't have got it.
That's another thing too. Like your lip grips are your best friend. Spend the money on them. Don't buy a cheap pair.
You and your boga grips. You're
Boga
trying to
grips,
sell
mate.
stuff to
If
us.
I'm telling you, buy a pair of boga grips. I've had my bogas for I'd be going 7 years.
How many sets of bogas have you had, mate?
Before the genuine bogas, a lot.
Because you kept them chucking off the side of kayaks.
Yeah, I did. But this one has a lanyard and it don't move, and that's for a reason because they're about $500.
Wow.
They
I don't own a
They're
pair.
impressive.
I don't own a pair. I won't own them. I'm a glove man. I use my gloves. I'll go straight for that bottom jaw, firm grip, support the fish, fast. I'll usually, I used to use them. I had just a standard size, 65 fish. Went to release him, and he took the grips with him. And I felt real sorry for that fish. I thought that thing's stuck. I reckon that fish is going to die.
Yeah.
And I just didn't probably a tight ass as well. I didn't go and buy another pair. But I thought, I don't like that problem and I don't want that problem. So I just move into, I've always got a couple of pair of heavy duty gloves, proper gripping fish gloves, as well as the big net. So, yeah, I do a lot of fish care. I don't do a lot of out of the water time. I'll get a fish in the net, in the water. I'll sort everything out, or off-sider. Matt's out and wet and down there ready to go.
Yep.
Camera's ready to go. I'm working on lures in the mouth in the water.
Yep.
And remove that, even the big boppers. Try to remove that in the water. So when we lift that fella in and I'm gloved up, I'm straight on that, that bottom jaw. I've got my measure accurate with a photo. I've got him on my knees if he's a propper or a little fella, hold him up.
Yep.
And straight back in. So I reckon a fish should be lucky to do 30 seconds in my boat out of the water.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So as long as there's not a problem, or when they inhale that lure, you've got to go down there.
It become a bit of an issue.
Fish care is a big thing too.
Yeah.
Like you got to look after them.
Yeah, and the big thing is like that's out of a boat. That's all well and good. But out of a kayak, you're not lugging around a big net. You're not. But gloves, I totally agree. I skimp out a little bit on bloody, what do you call them?
Lip grips.
Lip grips. Just got the name there for a second. I skimp out on lip grips. I don't buy the best of the best. I think I've got a rogue pair and a set of whatever else.
Did you just say BCF?
No.
This guy.
I've just heard him a little bit.
Yeah, what are you doing to me?
But lip grips for me, it's like it's a yellow, it's a medium sized cod, whatever. I've never lip gripped anything over 70. It's always hand in mouth. And if it's a big boy, I mean, I like to remember those scars on my thumb too.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool thing for the week down the line when you're at work.
Right. Yeah.
And
look at this.
you're doing
The old cod thumb.
You're doing what you do for $1 to pay the bills, and you look at your thumb. It's just a really good little.
Oh yeah,
it's a war wound, mate. She's
That's
like
right.
she's like a tattoo from winning an award. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
Lip grips to me, I was a big fan of them. I used to glove them all the time. Had one lure go through my hand, and that was me.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like.
Rookie.
A good pair of bogers. The only time I've ever struggled with me $500 pair of bogers is me $1.17 I got out of the river. I literally, it didn't have the gap to get over the bottom
lip.
like the teeth.
Yeah.
So I had to actually grab him and prise it over. But then once it was on, because it's on a lanyard, I let him go.
Yeah.
And I just went free spool on me reel. And I paddled myself to the bank, and then I was like, righto, I know he's on them lip grips and he ain't getting off. And I just pulled him up with this lanyard.
Yeah.
And then that was when I got to really see him, and I'm like,
feel him.
boy,
Yeah.
oh boy, this is a good fish.
Proper.
And like the worst part is, if you've ever seen a bragmate photo, everyone reckons it's 1.20 m. But I was on the shittest bank and I had to hold this fish up with me 2 feet. And they're like, it's 1.20 m. I said, well, no, you know what? I'm going to take 1.17 m because it's a lot easier to beat than 1.20 m.
Is that your best one? That's your biggest so far?
That's the biggest one.
1.17.
Yeah.
And a river fish to go with it. That's a hell of a brag.
Yeah, and like me and Dana spoke about that fish too. I fished for 3 hours, never got a hit that day.
Hungover as hell.
And literally the 2 rocks I launched my kayak through that day, I launched my kayak through those rocks, went upstream, paddled for 3 hours, come all the way back, and I threw a lure right where, in between those 2 rocks where I pushed my kayak out, and it creamed it in the second wind.
Yeah.
There you go.
Unreal.
That's funny.
Oh, insane. And
That's funny.
Oh,
You'd be surprised where big fish live. There's big fish here in town.
Yeah.
There's big fish right here in town. I've messed with one a number of years ago. Didn't know I messed with him until I pulled out of his mouth what he was wrestling me over. I was between boats, didn't have a boat, and so I was just doing some bang fishing. Summertime, the river was real high. They were letting out crazy water out of the dam, and it was pumping, but it seemed to be right on the edges. The fish were biting on, you just put your cheese or your shrimps in.
Yeah.
And I'd go down there most evenings with the missus and just catch a couple of fish. It was a bit of fun.
Yeah, for sure.
And the fish were running with high water. So one night or one evening on sunset, rod went off, just bouncing everywhere, just bait fishing off the boat ramp.
Yeah.
Where every bloke is. Every bloke comes and goes from, similar to what Aaron's saying there with these 2 rocks he launched off.
Yeah.
And bouncing, I was like, it's a carp. You can tell a carp when you've got a carp.
Yeah.
They're different to the natives.
Cut in water. Yeah.
Yeah. So put a few wines on him to bring him in out of the current, and then he started really going off like a frog in a sock. Just, this fish was not happy. It was just insane. I was like, oh, he's just lost his mind. I've never fought a carp like this. He must be a pretty good size fella.
Yeah.
Anyways, he seemed to get snagged, and I thought, I'm seesawing him around a stick or something here. I can't get him off. He's still kicking, but he's not coming.
Feel it there, but it's a bit of
I don't want to go too hard.
Yeah.
I'll bust a knot. Fucking carp, I'm getting him out of the river. I'm not going to fucking lose a carp if I can get him off the snag.
That's right.
Anyways, doing this seesawing and letting a bit of spool out and then bringing it again. And I got him. He come loose. I was like, oh, beauty. You come in really easy. Come in real easy. And the water was clear, and I had the lights on. It was really on that dark point after sundown. Yeah. Just dark enough. You couldn't see the fish proper in the water, so you got your headlamp on. and he come up in the water on the concrete ramp, and it was a koi carp. I'm like, wow, this thing.
Okay.
It was a big carp.
Yeah.
But it was a koi. It was all pink and grey. And I'm like, that's the prettiest fish. What's he doing in the river? And I took him out of the water, and up onto the concrete on the dry, and I ran my fingers down him because he was so pretty. And then I realised my fingers are covered in blood. I was like, what the fuck is that? And I flipped the fish over. I noticed that pink and grey side was like oozing blood. And I flipped him over, and his other side was the usual goldie. He's a carp. He's not a koi. I'm like, what What's wrong with this fish? And then I realised the shape on the side of him, his whole side. I got a photo on my phone, and I wear a size 13 shoe.
Yeah.
Because I was like, no one's going to believe me on this. The missus was with me. I was fighting a cod. I'd hooked the carp.
Come up and grabbed it.
He was fighting.
Yeah.
A big cod in the town strip has come up and gone, frightened fish, spooked fish, and he's just yoinked it. He's just fucking bang. And so I've been seesawing, tug-of-warring with a big cod who's locked his mouth around a gigantic carp.
Yeah.
And eventually I've ripped it out of his mouth and he scaled it on the one side where those, I guess it's the bottom jaw, I think's got the teeth, the grabbers.
Yeah.
And he scaled it. He completely scaled this fish down one side, other side virtually untouched. And you could see the shape of his mouth from where the scales were actually stripped down his side below his fins. And I was like, fuck me. So yeah, he was he was out of the frying pan and into the fire once I got him and dispatched him. So the poor bastard was doomed whichever way he went.
Yeah.
But that's right here in town. There's big fish right under your nose. You don't even realise. It's like what you're saying. Down the back, you've grown up here and a bloke's just pulled a metre out.
Yeah.
But and you're saying where you throw a lure right where you've launched at the start of the day, you'd be surprised where these big green monsters hang out.
Was this the fish that ended up in the local Dubbo newspaper?
I can't prove it, but I think it was.
Yeah, because I remember going back.
I think it would be, just the sheer size of it.
Yeah, I remember going, the carp. I remember a carp ending up in the Dubbo newspaper because a couple of boys, I can't remember if it was you or it was a couple of boys, were fishing down near the pylons for the bridge.
Mm.
And they pulled up this carp and it was 60-odd centimetre carp and it was scaleless, absolutely scaleless.
Yeah.
And it just goes to prove there's big fish in the centre of town if you want to find it.
Mate, I would have been a cynic if I hadn't done it myself.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's the photo
He's
there.
just showing the photo right now. Oh,
and if you look closely enough, you'll actually see the shape of the jaw and how it scaled it. And I only sorry I didn't get a photo of the other side, which was unscathed, a perfect fish on the other side. And that's my foot. Like I got a pretty big hoof.
Yeah.
But it makes sense
as to
70
centimetre fish at least.
Yeah. Why that rod went mental was, it wasn't the carp. The poor carp he was just going, what the hell's happened to me here? I'm getting smashed every way I look. But I'd love to meet that fish. But I do suspect he's the one that turned up in the photo down off off those bridges and stuff, yeah.
Just speaking about scaling fish, you've had a fish taken before, haven't you, Az?
I have.
Scaled on the...
Yeah.
Was it kayak fishing?
Yeah, it was kayak fishing. Yeah. Same thing with Corey. Going back to Corey again. But
you've done a lot of fishing with him.
I'll tell you what, it was probably 500 metres up from where I caught metre 17.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I've taken you there once and we got a donut and I was devastated. I was like, mate, this is the best stretch of the Macquarie River. And we just timed it so shit. But, it was up there, mate. I actually remember I watched you fish the exact same snake come off. I got a 69 centimetre cod. And as I hooked him, I got him leader length from the kayak and I could hear, I know like a lot of fishers will understand this. I could hear this boof. I could really hear the boof underwater, and I was like, "What is that?" And all of a sudden, I just got a heap of weight, and I was like, "Wow, this fish felt pretty big." Anyway, and he's taken a couple of meters off me, and then all of a sudden, it's free again. And I got this caught up, and I said, "Holy shit, he's a good fish! He'd be 70." Roundabout, and he's come up and he's all descaled, like he was within the 30 seconds of being on this line. He was descaled, and I got him to the kayak and I've lip gripped him. He wasn't in a good shape.
Yeah,
And
he's
I've
just
gone-
stripped, clean as a whistle, just stripped.
Yeah, and I said to Corey, I said, mate, have a look at this. He's like, holy shit, like this thing has been eaten. And I was like, yeah, it really has. I said, mate, I heard these buffs underwater, and this fish has been eaten. Like it's 69 centimetres. That's a big fish.
It is.
Yeah.
And there was scales. Like I don't know if he had it head first, tail first, or whatever, but there was scales missing off this fish for 80% of his body.
Yeah, he was
Like
no
he
good.
had been absolutely stripped, and it put the heebie-jeebies up me. Like I was like, "Holy shit, there's a big fish living here!" And yeah, I tried to actually let that fish go. He wouldn't go.
Yeah.
Like he was cactus.
Yeah,
and
he'd been hit proper.
it was kind of good because about another probably a K upstream, I tethered into the back of the kayak, and there was a farmer mustering cattle, and I said, "Hey mate, you eat fish? There you go."
There you go.
And it's always stuck to me ever since. And like that was a fair while ago. I'm probably talking 6-7 years ago.
Yeah.
And going back probably 3-4 years ago when I was living in Dubbo, like I've been here for 7 years. So I'm on cod opening weekend. I said to Corey, I said, let's go back there. And he said, well, see, no, there's 2 and 2 going here. He said, well, scissors, paper, rock, who goes downstream, who goes upstream?
Yep.
I ended up being downstream, and I got a 90. Shit, he might have been 93 that day. So I sent Corey a Snapchat. I said, "Get this up, you. You went the wrong way."
Yeah, fuck you.
And I get a thumbs up, and I was like, "Yeah, right, that's not Corey." But anyway, we got back in the car. This is God knows what time. Daylight savings 8-9 o'clock. I said, "How'd you go?" He said, "Yeah, I got a couple." He said, "But I got manhandled." And I was like, "Really?"
Proper.
He said, "Mate, I shit you not. It was the same log you got that 69 eaten." He said, "I could not stop it."
Oh, wow.
So
Cool.
Corey runs 50 and 60.
Yep.
50
yep.
braid, 60 litre.
litre. Yep.
And he said this thing, it was on a 100 mil plough, 100 mil Audrey plough, and he said it steamrolled me 5 or 6 metres into the snag, and he said just play violin for me for a couple of seconds and then ping me off. And he said
Wow.
it was exactly the same spot you caught that 69. And I was like, are you kidding me? And I've been back there twice, never got touched. But
Yep.
I'm like, holy shit, because it is the most prominent area up there. There's 2 big laydowns running into the river, and it's like this mad little section of about 1.5 metres where you can cast up the guts of it. So you can't miss it. And he said, yeah, that was it. I was like, we're going to get that fish one day. Still never have.
But you know where he is.
Yeah.
But you know where he is.
And to see him score, like I've never been busted off on 50 and 60 in the river. It's pretty rare. I've been busted off on 50, 40, but yeah, not that heavy.
Yeah.
That's heavy Arsenal right there.
Oh, 100%.
Those,
What
those
do you run,
big
Link?
river fish. Oh, look, mate, I'm a bit of a softie in the river. I'll only run 40-40.
40-40?
And I don't go much bigger than that in the dam.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm a bit lighter than that in the dam because generally I haven't got a lot of structure that I'm going to be fighting against. If it,
Yeah,
fish
that's
doesn't have a
right.
lot of
Yeah.
place to bury.
Yeah.
So it's a bit more of a calmer affair when you get that big one. But yeah, I'm probably undergunning, but I just feel real comfy. I'm a bit of a long caster. I like to have that length and prospect long and silent.
Prefer a bit lighter, get longer casts.
I've got my own view on these fish and how they work. I've got my own wacky-do theories. I think the saltwater in my blood. I worked the moon. Like growing up, tides were really important. And I've had some good nights working moon cycles here in the inland, and it may have nothing to do with anything. But for me, I reckon they're pretty spooky.
Yeah.
I like light on the water. I've noticed some patterns about moonlight on the water rather than a lot of fellas locally who are grown up here swear by a new moon with pitch black.
Yeah.
But I've found the opposite. I've had some unbelievable sessions, and I've planned them around watching the moon and where it's at certain times of the day or night and where that moon cycle's at. But again, it's probably just the salt water in me that I've grown up knowing how important the tidal movements are and a full moon. But you're talking about those big fish. The biggest cod I've ever seen was at Burrendong. I never got to play with him. I just got to see him. And you talk about how they'll eat anything. I was having this red hot run at the end of spring. It was around November, just before, it was during the drought, like before the drought got bad. So maybe the dam was 25, 30%. Been out the week before with another fella, and we had a red hot session on the yellers, just ZX blading off the points, and big fat fish. You know, he went 3 fish in a row. He got a 58, and then he got a 59, like first cast of the day, second cast of the day. And he's saying, how good would it be if I got a 60 on the third? And he flicked out and he was hopping it back and nothing going on, and he actually was bringing it up under the column, and we saw the fish come and bang the lure right next to the boat. Saw his big mouth flare out.
Yeah.
Got this fella, it was 62. So he went 3 casts for 58, 59, 62. It was
That's
really
unreal.
Solid.
That is unreal.
Mate, we didn't. That point was red hot. It was just stacked, and he had to work the next week, and he was on call. And so I went out on my own back there. I was like, yeah, I'm got some time, and I was doing the same thing, just flicking blades, and they were all there again. It was great. Caught my first and only ever silver perch, a decent sort of 40 centimetre silver perch too, which was cool. He fought a bit different, but I was whacking these big fat yellers, and one of them, again, similar to that carp story where it went bonkers. Whacked one. He's coming in usual sort of yellow fights, all good. And then he was starting to really go bonkers. And I'm like, yeah, this bloke's putting on a show. And anyways, the water was clear enough you might see a few metres down into it. It was pretty decent quality. Yep. And as he's coming up and I'm watching over the side of the boat, I was like, oh, he's got a couple of followers, fellas listening and you fellas that know that when the fish are really on, the yellers on the spawn, they'll chase each other up. So you might have 2 or 3 fish or maybe more behind the fish on the hook, all excited. And I saw a couple of fish behind him. I was like, yeah, cool, these guys are getting real tuned up here. And as I'm winding him in, I realised that what I thought was 2 fish was the white dorsal fin of a cod and the white tip of his tail. So they weren't fish. It was a solo cod chasing this bloke up. That must have been why he was going bonkers for a bit, because he was like, I'm going to get eaten by a fucking predator. And you talk about these fellas, well, you've got that cod that you couldn't revive, but I'd seen a story and it was all verified. There was some comp down maybe Mulwala where a bloke had caught a 60-something cod in a comp and a metre plus had eaten it head first, and he landed them both and he recovered the 60 out, and they were both alive, catch and release. So they measured them both on the mat, got the total, and they won. Wow. And I was like, that was one of the first times I'd heard about how cannibalistic and how hungry these things were. An old boy and his team walked away with the check. So I was thinking, as I'm like, holy, this thing is fucking enormous. I'm going to leave this thing dangling, bouncing on my hook and see if old mate's going to swallow him. Yeah. You know, I'm on like 10 pound on my samurai reaction. She's a 2 to 6 pound rod with a little Stratic 1000. I'm like, you know what? She's open water here. I'm going to try my chance. I'll fight this thing for half an hour if I can bring it in and see if he'll eat it. Unfortunately, I only looked at him for 5 seconds. I could just see him there going, fucking hell, that thing's huge. And he was nosing it, but he never did that buffing. And then he just sunk back into the dark. And I'm looking over at my sounder on the chirp and just going, wow, that's a real fucking heavy mark there. And he just sunk back down in the bottom. Never saw him again. Off he went. But I reeled that fish in, got him in the net and put him on the mat. He was 61 centimetre yellow belly.
Oh, wow.
And it looked like a dwarf school fish, mate. Yeah. And I look at that and I just go, what if? Like, how big was this cod that made a 61 look dwarfed? This thing easily looked like 2 other yellers behind him. When I first started seeing the movement of those white bits of his fins, I'm like, like how big was that fish?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
He was a corker. I know where he is, or I know where he was, but I don't know if dam fish behave the same way as river fish. I suspect they're more migratory, but I've never seen a bigger fish.
In saying that, like, I've got a good story about old Windermere. I was in AYC fishing a comp, and not to put the saddle on my own back, but we won this comp.
Well, it's not a saddle if you did it.
And it was crazy. I was fishing with Corey and Mick Collison, and I'd hooked a yeller, and we were fishing Mast Vibes on the edge. I got this yeller all the way 5 metres from the boat, and same thing, big green fella right behind him, and I was like, holy shit, like, and I done the exact same thing as you. I said, no, fuck it, I'm going to see if I can land this thing. Yeah. If he wants to eat it, he'll eat it. And I remember Mick's been there, and he's like, mate, we're in AYC. That's an upgrade. Like, get the fucking thing in the boat. And I said, You got a fair point. So I've swung this fish into the net, and I've gone, you know what? I've got another rod here rigged up with a Mast Vibe. I'm going to throw it out. And so I picked this up, Mick's playing around with my fish, and I've launched this Mast Vibe in the direction this cod cod disappeared. And I'm waiting for it to hit the bottom, and all of a sudden it just went clunk. And I was like, oh, yeah, struck, and it was heavy. And I was like, holy shit.
Got it.
Mick's like, you didn't hook that cod, did you? I said, I think I did. And
He's about to kick you out of the boat for wasting time in a cod.
He was filthy.
Like, you're running 6 pound here, mate. This is going to be 2 hours to bring this thing in.
And yeah, like it was seriously a 15-minute fight, and I'd finally seen it. I said, that's him. That's the one I wanted.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, come on, like we're in a fucking yellow comp. We're winning it. And I was like, yeah, I understand, but this is a big fish. Like, anyway, him and Corey stayed at the front, which is absolutely perfectly fine. No grudges. They were fishing the comp.
Yeah, I can hear that. No grudges at all.
Who's grabbing the net, boys? And fuck you, mate.
No, see, I landed this fish.
You know there's no grudges when they say there's no grudges, right?
I landed this fish without a net. So he was in a tracker. So the back of the boat sits a lot lower than any other boat. And this fish has come up with his mouth open with a Mars vibe jammed down his tonsils. And I've just done the old peek and duck, just grab him and hold on like shit. And I've held on, I've wrestled him out, and I put him on the back of the deck, and I'm like, oh my Lord, that's every part of a metre. And the boys just spun around, and he's like, yeah, literally both of them were like, that's a good cod. And then went back again. Started chasing yellows. I'm like,
You're here for the show, we're here for the dough, mate. Yeah.
So I've whacked out the rag mat, and I've sat it on, I think it went a metre 16.
Wow.
Metre 16, yeah.
Oh, wow.
That is proper.
So he was a really good fish, and I was pumped. I was like, imagine if we take this thing out. I've just caught a metre 16 on a Mars vibe. So the boys are all pumped, and they're like, yeah. And we got back to the briefing or whatnot. Presentation. And they're like, we knew it was going to be tight because Loomsy was right up our ass. And the boys are like, oh, Aaron fought a fucking cod for 20 minutes when we were on a red hot yellow belly bite. And they're like, oh, yeah, how big's the yellow?
Any other day you'd be a hero, mate.
Oh, yeah. So
you're a fucking pariah. Time wasting, team letting down pariah.
No, it was good. Like we end up winning the comp, which is awesome, and then also got this metre 16. He was a big fish, and it was really cool to see because I was like, how cool is that landing that on 10 pound? I originally had 10 pound leader, 10 pound main braid, and 8 pound leader, and I'd hooked this thing, and like it was right down its gullet. So it should have rubbed me off, but it didn't. So I'll take it. I'll absolutely take it. But yeah,
it must have got stuck between the teeth rather than being grated over it.
Yeah, I don't know. I reckon
Dental floss between teeth.
You working trebs, or do you get the stingers on it?
I had a swing and assist. Yeah,
well,
always run.
I reckon that's maybe the secret. I'm not looking to top the story, but I had an experience with a big cod in Burrendong. And Burrendong for me and most blokes I think is notorious for very difficult to get cod out of. The releases are massive over the years. Every year, huge amounts should be in there. And you see them like that big fella I told you about. And other blokes will give you anecdotal accounts of similar sort of stuff, seeing big fish.
Yeah.
But I was out fishing in closed season, always closed season, isn't it? I've caught 2 cod out of Burrendong in 20 plus years. One was almost albino, this 60 centimetre thing that just pulled the trolled lure. He was a weird looking fish, that one. But a cod, and I was like, there you go, there's cod in here. And that's years ago. That's like 2009 or actually tell a lie, 2011, I remember, because I just started seeing who is now my wife. And we were out with her in-laws. Anyways, we got that thing, but just before COVID, I was out with Rubes, and we're fishing the edges. I love a wind-washed edge. It's the best.
Yep. Blowed up, bit dirty, bit muddy.
It's shaly and rocky. Yep. We were right next to the main ramp at Burrendong, so you know what I'm talking about. It's just... You're only halfway toward the pipes that bring the water up to the park.
Yeah.
There's some real nice rocky edges there, and the wind was washing across right onto it directly and just sloshing. Stirring it up, washing out yabbies or whatever else. The yellows are up there picking, so we're just throwing in fish traps and doing the old, we call it a butt bash. It's a bit of an interesting lift and injured-looking fish sort of method. Sort of lift them up, drop them down, pause them, and we're having a good time. Big fat yellers. And I'd lost a lot of lures that day. We're talking about my lure collection. I'd love to have all the ones back that I've lost. I'd say it should be more than double what it is. Yeah. And I'd lost a shitload of so your soft plastics, your mask vibes and fish traps and transams. And I was sick of retying leader. I was just sick of it, and I was over it. It was the end of the day. I could see the car and trailer. I was just longing
Let's go.
for Rubes to call it. I was like, I'm done. I'm in the lead. I've got more than you.
Yeah.
Let's call it. I'm the winner. Because, I always like to just be a little asshole, and every time I get ahead, we count, and every time we get ahead, I start singing Under Pressure by Queen. I was dun, 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 dun. Just start getting in his head, just trying to psych him out. So, I sort of thought, I've won here. And Rubes wanted to keep fishing. He wanted another fish, and I was like, yeah, whatever. And I was like, oh, fuck it, I've got nothing left in the box. I've just busted another one off on bloody hook it up on the bottom, using the swingers, the Stinger assists. And I had this old Jackal Transam in redfin pattern that had melted, and I don't know if it had ever even flicked it. Early days of getting into these soft vibes, and I'd stored them wrong. Different brands, you shouldn't store them together because the plastics react. So this thing had melted. It was just shit. Even that metal weird weight was exposed on one side. It melted.
Oh, right. Yeah, that bad.
It had sat in the box that long.
Still vibe, but...
Well, I guess so, because I caught a good fish. I could not be asked in the wind to tie another freaking leader on this. I was using 6 pound Daiwa bloody, your J braid. I love that blue J braid stuff. 6 pounds.
Yeah, J braid grand.
That's it.
Grand,
just the finest. The cotton's got nothing on it, mate. This stuff is so fine. And it's a prick to tie it in the wind. I tied enough knots that day to go, I am fucking over it. And I can see the car and just please get another fish. I think I'm done. I love me fishing, but we've all got our tolerances, and I'd hit the point and I was like, fuck it. I'm sitting here waiting. I'll just tie that piece of shit on, straight to the braid, just double me wraps of normally doing, just fucking, whatever, waste time. And that's what I wasn't even focusing on the retrieve. I barely even half lobbed it underarm out behind the back of the boat. I was sitting down. That's how not into it I was. I was sitting on my big white ass doing nothing and just dropped her out, plonked her over there, and I'm just shaking it round and not even doing what I do. And then clunk. I'm like, okay, I got another one. And just to sort of rub it into old Rubes up the front. And this thing just started peeling line out and just going for open water, going across toward the wall.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, carp. And it just kept peeling. I was like, hang on, Rubes, bring in it, mate. We'll chase this bastard. We'll bring him in and we'll knife him and finish him off. On the electric motor chasing him, and he's still peeling line off the drag as we're hitting, 10-speed, rabbit speed on the Minn Kota. And eventually we got him out in open water and he pulled up. And then he started swimming in circles around the boat like a shark. Because this is the old, you'd watch blokes catching bull sharks when I grew up on the beach and that. And sharks do a lot of just dead, slow swimming in circles and stuff.
Yeah.
And so this bloke is just going round the boat end to end, and I'm up the front trying to keep the braid from going into the prop on the bloody Minn Kota and over the head. And I'm down the back, get out of the way, Rubes. I'm down the back and round the fucking outboard, and then I'm up around. I think he did 2 or 3 laps of it all, and all the while I'm slowly bringing it in. And we're like, it's not a carp, a cod, maybe it's a cod. Like, this is pretty good.
First inkling of, this isn't sitting right.
Brings him up shallow enough to go, yeah, that's a good cod. That's a good cod. He's not as good as your one you got, but he was a good cod. Yeah. Anyways, we got him on this fucking melted redfin pattern Transam on the swinger assist. And he was 98. We had a tiny little net for the yellers, so we didn't have the cod net in, so that wasn't going to work. And in the end, I said to Rebs, look, mate, I don't really care if I miss this fish or not, to be honest. Like, get on your guts, and if you can grab him with your hand, no gloves. Like, we had nothing to get this fish in the boat with. I said, look, just when I call it, just grab his lip, just go for his bottom lip. If you get him, good on you. If he shakes it and I lose him, no harm done. I don't care. I don't care, mate. Just do what you can do. Do the best you can. And he's a superstar. He's such a focused dude.
Mate, a good fella.
Like a ninja, mate. He just arm shoots out, bang. He's locked that hand around that bottom jaw, got under the belly with the other arm, pulled this thing in. It was still green, actually. It wasn't a blue fish for a big fish. He was 98.
Yeah, right.
He was 98 centimetres.
Well, after all that running around, stressing him out, he probably lost
maybe
his
he
blue
lost
already.
the blue, yeah. And that's the thing. He did take a while to get in because of how fine, like a 2 to 6 pound Samurai Reaction rod.
Oh,
yeah,
my little 1000 Stratic CI4 and 6 pound braid with no leader.
Yeah.
And I think the only thing that saved us to actually get that fish in and get a measure and a photo and put him back was that he was lipped on the outside of his lips.
Ah, yeah.
Those 2 little hooks had sort of caught him there to hang onto his skin.
Yeah.
So he wasn't through any of the plate bony stuff. It was just his face.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got a couple of photos, put him back, and then was like, yeah, fucking close season. Like, I will be annihilated on social media posting photos of cod in fucking breeding season.
Well, that's the thing everyone's got to understand. You're going to chase yellows, but you also are going to catch cod.
Yeah. Well, I guess he was moseying through
the right thing.
Yeah, he was eating the bigger stuff, wasn't he?
100%.
Well, the little stuff's washing out. The bigger stuff's in there eating the washed out. And the big stuff's in there eating the middle-sized stuff. And that's what he was doing. He was just patrolling.
That's right, yeah.
Middle of the arvo.
Yeah, as long as you, care for that fish out of season, you don't do anything wrong. No harm, no foul.
He went back real well. He was a healthy-looking fish.
Yeah.
I was just disappointed because he wasn't a metre. But still, for the gear I was running, it was nuts to actually even see him, let alone get him in.
So I'm just showing the boys a few photos here in the potty.
Couple of good yellows.
This is the comp I was talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so these are a couple of absolute fat chunk yellows we're catching in the comp. It's in the nitro, mate. So Dane owns this nitro now.
What was the water hole, mate?
Windy.
Yeah,
looks like windy yellows,
windy,
nice
so
yellow.
There's some fat pigs in
them.
there. That's a great
Getting some proper fish. So there's Mick and Corey with some absolute slobs.
Bless them.
This is the bank we got it off, actually.
Yeah.
So we're flicking through. And
I know that bank. You're giving your secrets away.
That's all right, mate. And having a fat time. Like, we're leading the comp. We're getting some absolute horses. Corey's got one there.
He's a
chunk.
slob, mate.
Wow. Yeah.
And then this is where it happens, right? So me and Corey together.
Good yellows. Oh, big cod. Holy dooly.
Have a look at that thing. Have a look at that thing for a cod. Right?
Yeah.
So
it's just hard for fellas to be listening to, but it's a wow fish. It's just buckled over.
Thick.
He's saddled on his back. He's 2 foot plus through from bottom to top.
So I'm a big boy.
Wow.
And it's hard to make a fish look big on me.
So just to describe it.
There's his head thickness.
That's a tank.
Yeah, just to describe it, he's standing up holding this fish in front of him, and the gut is about his belly button area, and the top of it's about his chin.
Yeah.
Wow, there's two blokes holding that.
That's me and Corey holding him together. So he was honestly probably heavier.
You win, that's crazy. That's a donkey.
He was on, 8-pound line.
Wow.
Yeah, that was me and Corey holding it together. So that was a pretty cool experience to us because Corey was like, I'll get into a photo with you. I was like, let's go.
I was the one that told you not to catch it, but I'll get in the photo.
So it was really, really cool experience. Like, win the yellow comp, catching a fucking trophy cod.
Mate, there are blokes that will spend their lifetime chasing that fish and will never get it. That's a bloody big fish. I haven't got one that big yet. I'm just short.
Yeah.
But that's a good fish.
What is your biggest cod so far, Link?
Mate, it's the first metre I ever got, funnily enough. I'm going slowly backwards with every metre I get, but 113, my first fish.
113?
Yeah, on swim boat over at Windermere,
Yep.
113. He was a funny fish because I barely even felt the bump on a gantrel.
Oh, right, just a real subtle bite.
Yeah, it was like, was that something? And I rolled it for a bit more going, there was no weight. And then sort of that water's so clear, it was early when I was with Big Des. And if you're listening to Des, he missed netting it fucking twice and I nearly killed him, but he got it. Because I was saying, don't you miss this? And he had 2 digs at it before he finally got on the third. But when it started coming in and I realised, there's a fish on there, and then it gets a bit closer, oh shit, this is a big fish.
Yeah.
He come head on into the boat and the water's dark and he was a really dark fish. He was very, very dark on the back. It's my Facebook profile photo, that fella holding, if you've seen it.
Beautiful fish.
And real heady. He was a real dinosaur-looking heady fish too. He didn't have the massive slob guts, but he was still big. But he had his gills were flared out. And so I could see this white coming in. I was like, that's a fish. That's a fish's head. That's a fucking big fish's head. Get the net and don't fuck it up. And when he come in, he actually started pulling backwards. I'm going back to those early days of where I fished, and I caught a few freshwater eels when I was a kid on bait.
And the eels come back up.
They're pricks of things to catch because they wriggle, but they seem to be able to swim backwards, and they bend their body and they pull their head back, and they thrash their head sideways with those needle pins. So eels can be real hard to catch.
Yeah.
Anyways, this thing was sort of doing this. He was bouncing his head backwards, side to side, like he was almost swimming backwards and fighting against me. I was still winning.
Yeah.
And then he comes in the open water and, 1, 2, 3 digs with a net, we got him, and then he come and 113. He was good fish. And he ended up, it was a funny way I hooked him, that subtle bite. He'd locked his jaws closed like a padlock with the hooks, the front and the back treb. He'd whacked the bottom treb under his bottom jaw, and he'd whacked the top front treb over his top lip near his nose.
Yeah.
I don't know how he did it, because the way they were buried in was like tight as a drum, and his mouth was fixed as tight as you could imagine. It was really hard work actually even having any play to pull a treb out to eventually get that gantrel off his face. He locked his face closed, and I was like, it's almost like you buffed between the trebs somehow and caught yourself up, but there was no play.
Yeah. Maybe he was trying to nose it or something. I don't know.
It was barely anything. It was like So any fellas out there who are trying this, don't ignore any bump. Yeah. Don't ignore any change in that. There's nothing when you're slow rolling. You boys know when you're slow rolling the swim bait, there's nothing. There is no feel at all. So any slightest bump, don't discount it, because this was, like a cotton wool ball touching a piece of felt. It was nearly fucking nothing, but it was enough for me to go, was that something?
Yeah.
And then he was obviously hooked, and I was bringing him. He was like he was swimming with me before I saw him. And it's like it was only when he saw us that he lost his shit and started fighting.
Right.
Yeah. And he was like, he wasn't even dead weight.
Yeah, and that's one thing like I bring up with cod is like, do you reckon they use the water resistance with their mouth open to fight? I reckon they do.
I've never even thought of that.
Because like thinking about if he's had his jaw pinned shut, he's like, shit, I've lost a little bit of drag resistance and that sort of stuff.
I'm fucking proud of you. That is such a good point. That is such a good point. If you hook a fish inside or outside the mouth, they fucking fight.
Yeah.
Like they pull you inside out.
Yeah.
You honestly got a fair point. I've caught some cod where you pin both their jaws shut and they fight fuck all, right?
Yeah.
And you get them in and you're like, geez, he didn't play up for an 80 centimetre fish.
No, this bloke he's testament to that.
Dane, you've nailed that. You have nailed it.
I can't take all credit for that because I was seeing a lot of bass fish, like largemouth bass fish shows, and they call them bucket mouths for a reason.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I've personally caught them, and they are bucket mouths.
As soon as you hook them, they open their mouths, and they reckon over in the States, they open their mouths because it creates so much resistance for you trying to pull them in. It's like pulling in a shopping bag, really, full of water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas if mouths are shut, it's so much streamlined, you're like, let's follow this thing.
But you do that to me all the time, Like, I've been in the boat with you. We've gone on a few fishing trips. You're the whiz kid that's done a huge amount of wiring and fixing up all my electric doodads and stuff. You're the maestro. And every time I sit with you, you come up and you think about this stuff that I've never thought of before. You're a different fish, mate. Pardon the pun. You think different, and that's good.
Yeah. Every now and then,
that's what I absolutely love about Dave. So, I've done this sport for fucking ages. I'd done it as the weird kid that liked fishing in high school.
Yeah, right.
Stuff like that. And I met Dane probably 7-8 years ago.
When you first moved the Dubbo within the first couple of months.
And it's crazy because I fish and I'm like, mate, this is how I used to do it. This is what, and he always has a little trick to it. He's like, oh, what do you reckon about this? And I'm like, I don't know. It don't work. I don't try it. And then he goes bang bang, and I'm like, fuck, there you go. Your brain's working.
This bloke's onto something. That's a very good point. It's one of many very good points that I've found that you make along the way, mate. You just see and think things different. I like that. I like that about fishing. We've all got our own preferences and theories. I've got my belief on moon still out here, even though every bloke who knows anything about science would say you're just a bald-headed lunatic. And they'd be right, But every bloke's got their own theory and their own ideas and their own experiences, and that's the cool thing about fishing is it's never the same.
No, it's not.
You're always learning, no matter how much you think you know. This network, this community, there's always so much more to share and learn. It's awesome.
Yeah, 100%. And the weird thing is, like, you say something to someone else, and it's like, I've done this to catch this fish this way. They're like, I would approach it totally different. And they do something totally different to what you would have done. But the end result is they've caught fish because they've done such and such, and you've caught fish because you've done such and such.
Yeah.
And it's just such a weird.
And you can always try something new. I've talked to you boys about. I do a bit of bait fishing when the river's too fast and you can't keep a lure at once. I still need to get that out of my system when you haven't got the time for a dam run. I'll do some summertime bait fishing in the evening. Yep. Caught some monsters. How about we do the 10 grand story?
Yeah, go on.
Righto.
Hit us with it.
Here's the funny story. Here's the lament of luckless Linc. Linc missed out on 10 grand, maybe. Maybe he didn't. Maybe he was hopeless and couldn't have caught the fish anyways. Had a bit of a run there using some different bait and started to think about the nostrils on the fish. For some reason, I was like, why they got nostrils? Can they smell? And I started stinking it up, baiting up, soaking it up with different flavours and got some red hot results. I swear by my little secret blend these days with what I do bait fishing in summer.
Yeah.
First few days I went out for a three-day run under a full moon. Funnily enough, I timed it on that in the holidays. And I went back to back 3 nights in a row. I pulled in the first night. I think I went to 93 to 95. And then the next night, only one. Excuse me, I think he was 94. And the last night I grabbed a 96, and every night I grabbed an extra player as well who was seeing me photos on Facebook. So someone else was like, oh, take me out. Everyone's on holidays. Can I come for a fish with you?
Yeah.
And I was probably doing a little bit of the scientific method without telling them that I'd put the plain bait on theirs and I put my secret brew that I was trying out on mine, and I was catching the fish. And I was under the moon too, mind you. So I went these 3 nights with 4 big boppers out of the local river here up around Butler's Falls, all in the 90s, and I still hadn't hit the metre mark at that stage. And I was just sort of putting those clues together. And since then, I've been using this, I call it the Orient Express.
Secret recipe.
Yeah. I'm going to, the river's pumping, I can't keep a lure, I want to, okay, it's a bait fish.
Yeah.
And, out we go, we've had good success. Red fella talked about his first ever metre. That's one of my best stories, was watching Red catch that metre fish in his home stomping ground. Yep. He grew up there and he used the secret brew.
Yeah.
On his little ugly stick, and it was fantastic to be part of that. I reckon that's one of my best stories I've written down. Special days always involve seeing someone else win.
Yeah,
and being part of it.
It's been mentioned before, with the Banksy episode, he said it's not necessarily the fish that he's caught himself. It's the fish he's been a part of. Like he was a part of the one Booth he caught on metre 25.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, isn't that a fish?
That was, I think it was Boothie's first metre fish, and he said he was just shaking and just watching Boothie's excitement got him so ramped up. It was just unreal.
Mate, Rubes' first ever metre fish, we called him Rubens Fish. We chased him for nearly a year. We knew he was there.
Yeah.
And we would go with the exact same rods, the exact same reels, the exact same bait, and we wouldn't be more than 10 metres away. And we knew where he was, and we'd tie off and we'd throw to him.
Yeah.
Over a year and multiple trips, that fish never touched my hooks, and every time hit his hooks and busted him off.
Wow.
Every time, and we were calling him Rubens Fish, and we're going to get your fish. Secretly, I was always casting, trying to get in there first, and this fish was keen for the secret brew.
Yeah.
We got a plan together. We eventually got him. Like, the whole idea was I'd change my tie off to a bloody boat, a bike in a tube, throwing it over a branch and saying, if you get this fish, I'm just dropping the tie off, and I'm electric motoring straight out into open water, and we're going to bring this dirty fighter out in open water for a fair fight.
Yeah.
And we got him. It was Rubes' first metre fish on the secret brew as well.
Is this the metre 6?
Metre 4.
Metre 4.
And it's a beer keg does it no justice for thick. A fish like that doesn't belong in the river. The river fish here, when I get river fish that are big, they're torpedo-like because I think they burn fat off because they're working against current. They're active. This fish didn't belong in the river. This thing was just a pig. And it fought dirty when we finally got him out, because it fought dirty for a year and just kept pinging him and never touched my hooks. I even took trips up there on my own to get this bloody fish. And he wouldn't touch my stuff. Yeah. And it was the exact same stuff that Ruben was using. So sometimes it's just the way it's meant to be. We pulled this fish out off the willows and the snags where it was playing dirty. I think he's lived there a long time. And his face and his mouth indicate he's seen a lot of hooks and won a lot of battles for a lot of fellas. Open water. All clear. I'd done the thinking for ages about open water fish. If we can pull him out of that shit in open water, it's a fair fight because there's nothing on the sounder.
He's got his confidence up. He's beat all his anglers out.
Yeah. There's nowhere for this fish to bury himself and keep pulling his tricks. And he must have done 4 or 5. You know how cod does a run. You'll see him does a run. This thing just run and run and run. And then he'd give up and you'd bring him in and he'd half a sense that it's no good and he'd run again. He took a long time on, and again, 3-foot ugly stick, same one that Jesse got his first metre fish on too. Wow. Only about 200 metres up river from where this one come from. Yeah. And at the end, this fish did not throw in the towel. He hugged the hull of the boat. And I was
hugged the hull?
I was screaming at Rubes, keep that braid off the friggin' tinny. If that touches, it could ping. The dirtiest fighter I've ever met. He was hugging the hull under the boat, under our feet. And
Really?
Rubes was reaching out
So he
wide
knew
over
his
the gunnel.
shit. Yeah.
He'd been
Look,
around
mate,
a lot.
I am not a fish scientist, and I'm learning more about anatomy being this marine studies teacher, and everything I know about fish brains is primitive. They're primitive.
Yeah.
They've only got the basic stuff in there. So how the fuck you explain to me, a different bloke could say, oh, genetically this fish may be built with fighting genes, and that's why they get big, because they're just like genetically imprinted to be fighters. I don't know. But this fish fucking knew how to not be caught. And eventually we pulled him out from under the hull, right under our feet, and Rubes working real hard to not let braid touch that tin.
Yeah.
Into the net and away, the cheers up and down the river. They would have heard us down in Dubbo, mate. And he struggled. Ruben's a big, fit boy, and he's strong. Ruben's more strong than you even think he would be. And I got the photos of his face as he's lifting it. He's about to pop a hernia out of his groin to get it on his lap. I've got a series of rattled off photos of this. Is special. This is the first meter fish either of us have come across.
Yeah.
So this is a real special story for me, is just seeing one and the work you put in and the weirdness of how it was Ruben's fish the whole time. This fish would not touch the exact identical from me, same time, or my sneaky trips on my own, to beat this fish and get him on the brag map. Only 1.4 metre, but thick through. Just your fish there, that 117. This fish was deeper than your fish.
Oh, well and truly. Yeah. I've seen the photo of this fish. It is. If you caught that in a dam, it's 1.20 metre.
Mate, you put butter alongside it and say, fuck, you're looking skinny, butter. Like, this thing was...
It's a really good fish.
Yeah, it was a lovely fish. 10 grand. Magic bait. This I reckon fish can smell somehow. In that current, I reckon that current of summer, they can smell it and they'll come from a long way off under dark with a moon out. That's my theory. And I've got lots of fucking success to prove it.
Everyone's got theories, yep.
Yeah.
So we saw these old timers from Geary one time up at the Fingers. The Fingers. There's these lovely heap of old snags that come down a bank, on a real deep bank, just above a bend and some rapids down below.
To describe it, it's pretty much 3 tree branches coming off the side of a steep bank, coming into the water, and it just looks beautiful. There's a bit of an eddy before.
It's called 3 Fingers, isn't it?
Yeah, 3 fingers.
No, we've just nicknamed it the Fingers. I don't know if you boys have called it that since. So
I thought
I've always called it 3 fingers.
Mate, we would go past it constantly. It's one of our favourite local fishing holes, that whole strip, and we've got some big uns out of there. And you'd always flick it. We'll go past the Fingers and we'll flick it. Never had a bump, and you're like, it looks so right, every bloke's flicking it. That's why there's nothing there. You'll never catch anything because everything that settles in there for a home's fucking gone on hooks. And we watched these 2 blokes. We're coming up river through the rapids, and these 2 old timers, we've been a bit polite and staying out of their way, letting them flick and fish the Fingers one afternoon. And one old mate's rod just goes off. And we're like, wow. And then it snaps him. And we're like, wow. Other fella keeps flicking his lure, nothing going on. And the old timer who got busted off, he's tying on. He's just grabbed another lure out of his bag, out of the box. He's taking his sweet time. And I'm like, oh, fucking come on, fellas. We just want to get through. But we got to show a bit of respect here. And he old bloke taking his time tying on. He tied on a bloody Pretty boomerang, pretty stock standard, small lure. And he eventually flicked back out. And on that next cast, he's back onto this fish.
Yeah.
And where they're going, holy shit. And he's fighting it for a little bit. And then we saw his lure shoot back out of the water at him in the boat.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, fuck it, we're going through here and we're going to fucking find out what's going on. And we had a look, and he's looking at the back trebs, and one of them's just fresh out of the box, just bent, just pulled straight.
Straight through.
And we're like, yeah, right, bad luck, cool. And then, we both of us think the same thing. We're fucking coming back here when they're not around. There's fish on the Fingers.
Yeah.
And we never got a lure into that fish.
No.
But we come back, and I said, we're going to try the Orient Express. We're going to bait fish above this and see if this fish is interested in what we put down bait-wise. Mate, first time we pulled up there, I reckon we were there fucking 2 minutes and the fish was eating what we put down. Straight on it. Oh, yeah. And straight busted off.
Just busting knots, straightening out hooks?
No, just pinging the line.
We're
putting 30 pound down there and he pinged it.
Yeah.
I met that fish 4 or 5 times over fucking months.
Yeah.
And he pinged me. The last time he pinged me is where the ballad of fucking stupid Lincoln starts. Another bloke I've met through his missus through work was bagging the river out. Shit, there's no fish. He was doing a lot of dam fishing. He's a good fisher.
Yeah.
It's fucking shit. I hate the river, Macquarie's fucking nothing in there. And I said, oh, you're probably not fishing the right way. Come with me for a run. And I took him up on a summer run. We were swim baiting the river that afternoon and having a great time. We were actually even seeing cod taking our gantrels in the clear. It was a real neat art.
That's the best time,
mate.
isn't it?
We're just tucking them down beside willows and just jerking them along, and then you see these fish come out and whack them and having a great time. And then it got dark. I grabbed an 80 that evening on a swim bait, just cutting it through across a big snag where the water was all funneling and rushing through under it, and I cast wrong. And it wasn't where I wanted to be. And I was like, oh, this is getting sucked into those snags near the nursery I told you about earlier.
Yeah.
And fucking, I burned this thing back, and burning it back, it just got belted. And it was an 80 centimetre lovely fish come out of that neck, that big rush of funnel, and it was getting dark. I hadn't bothered to change the bloody shitty trebles off the gantrels fresh out the box. And so this fish, he twisted his way around and he'd done his death rolls and all this sort of, he carried on. And he dropped a treble, he pulled a split ring and left it in the net on the back of the deck. And in the dark, I fucking stepped on that after we got him out too. So I found where the missing treble went. So I ripped it out and swearing away, and it was dark enough. I said, righto, let's go and do what I do. I'll show you what I do for bait fishing. And I had my secret brew in a little container in the icebox. And up we went to the fingers, and we plonked in, and I had 60 pound on.
Yeah, so you'd upsized, obviously, from
every time I'd go up another like 10. And I've got to re-spool another bloody reel.
Another reel.
And I was up to 60 with a 60 litre on it, and I put it in there, and he still to this day says, I just couldn't believe it. I reckon it was a minute that this thing was in the water and I'm on, and it was heavy. It was the fish. And ended up, he busted the hook out. He was on for 10 seconds, 20 seconds. I was going okay. He was coming in.
Yeah.
I was winning on my 3-foot ugly stick, my favourite pink ugly sticks. And he busted the loop on the knot through the eye of the hook.
Oh, right.
So hook stuck in his mouth, and he's just busted that 60-pound heavy-ass mono.
Another piercing for him.
Yeah. I saw his face eventually, and he's tangled with a lot of hooks too. He had his side of his mouth was ripped out. I could tell in the photo.
Call him tackle box, mate. Headbutted it.
He's probably long, mate. He would probably have been there long enough to be fucking death rolling and busting droppers. You know, that fish was old. This fish is big.
Yeah.
So this bloke's eyes were like dinner plates about holy shit, and I was like, I've been telling you for a long time. You finally come out. Him and me and Rubes had planned to trip away a few weeks later to Glenbourne, smacking bass. He couldn't make it. He was on call. We took off, had a great time on the bass, nearly got hit by lightning. Fucking my mates do call me a lightning rod. There's a few lightning stories in my fishing life. And I sent him a message on like Saturday night. You know, we got about 50 or 60 bass in this one little red hot session.
That was a cracking session.
Oh, well, I've had some good days on the bass at Glenbourne. It's a good waterhole.
I love that waterhole.
And he sent me back a message, caught my first meter in. I was like, what? And then he sends a photo of this fucking dinosaur across this other fella's lap.
Yeah.
It's like, where's that? And he said, the fingers. So he, bit of time on his hands, bored. One of his other usual offside fishermates had come up from Bathurst and they'd gone up there.
On call, he just goes,
it's a short run if he gets the call. And so he's used the brew because I let all the cat out of the bag about what the brew is.
Yeah.
And old mate had caught it on his first visit there. It was $1.19.
$1.19.
It was during the Macquarie Megabucks competition where in the season the largest fish from Burrendong down was $10,000.
Yeah.
And all I could think, and probably still to this day, is if only I'd shut my mouth. Taken him somewhere else, that fish should have been mine.
Eventually you would have got it.
So, the lesson is you've got to be careful who you share your secrets with.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And that was the year I caught $1.17.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So I stooged you at a 10 grand too.
Double whammy.
No, shit, you're not. For the listeners out there, there's two blokes that could have won 10 grand that year.
Yeah.
And, so
But the fellow who didn't
I got me
like the fish
$1.17. And I put it on the brag mat. But the rule was with this comp was you had to have your fishing license on it.
That's right.
But
me and Ruben drew dicks on ours actually on purpose with Sharpie pen, just so if we won it, it'd have to go on the public forum with dicks drawn on our fishing licenses.
I was filthy because I was so, like, the story goes, I'll give you a quick brief go here, is I was on the piss at the Emeroo till 4 a.m. I played up like a second-hand lawnmower. Thought I was fucking way better than I was. And I'm getting old by this stage. I'm fucking 27, 28, whatever I was.
So old.
And, and I'd gone out. I said, right, I'm going fucking fishing no matter what at 6 a.m. So there's 2 hours sleep here.
Yeah.
Anyway, I got up and I teed up 3 blokes to go fish with me for that morning. Every single one of them was out on the piss with me. They all pulled out.
Of course they did. They had some sense, mate.
And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I've got a good feeling. I probably didn't. I felt like shit. But
Didn't know what you were feeling.
I was like, fuck it. I'm going fishing. I went to my favourite spot. And, yeah, that was when I caught Meta 17. And everyone's heard the story. I caught that. I was fucking over the moon.
Yeah.
And I remember there was a farmer up the top. He was mustering stock. And I said to him, mate, can you come down and take a few photos of this fish? I said, mate, it's a fucking good fish. He said, oh, how big is it? 80, 70? I was like, mate, I don't know, but it's well over a metre. He's like, yeah, I'll come down. So I've gone down there, and me being fucking, I love me cod to death. I've got to keep him in the water. So I've
swimming him.
As he's mustering stock, I've gone up and I'm like, yeah, fuck it. I'll swim him. I'll get a quick video of me holding this fish. And I've held the fish and I've put him back in the water and I put him on the brag mat. And I was like, fuck, Meta 17, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like getting to this stage, I'm like, fuck, old mate's not hurrying up. I want to care off this fish.
Yeah.
I said, I want this thing back in the water. So I was like, and thinking to myself, I'm like, you know what? I can get some still shots from this video. So that'll do. So I said, fuck it. I want this fish to survive. Put it back in. I've got the most remarkable fucking release video I've ever had in the river. I watched this big girl swim away. I was like, thanks for coming. Love you. Leave you. Let's go.
Awesome.
And I've done that. Totally forgot about me fishing license on the brag mat, which cost me the money, even though you fucking told a bloke about a metre 19 and he caught it. And it was funny too because I was dragging my kayak up. Look, I've done for the day. I'm dragging my kayak up the bank and old mate's like, well, you want me to take some photos? I said, nah, too late, mate. I've let it go. Like, fucking... whatever. He's like, how big was it? And I showed him video. He's like, holy shit. I was like, wow. He said, why didn't you keep it out? I said, mate, I'd rather see that fish swim away healthy than I would keeping it on lip dips. And it was such a remarkable fish.
Yeah. My first big fish was 93. It was on a spinnerbait. Not far from the fingers. There's big fish up there. And I didn't handle him well. I didn't handle him. I still have question marks over how that fish is.
Yeah, right.
You know, I didn't know. I wasn't prepared. And so it was a hot summer's day. He was deep. And I don't know. I didn't know till afterward. I reckon I probably scorched him on one side on the hot grey carpet deck in Matini. He struggled on the release and I worked out. I was in the water with him and holding him and making sure he's okay. Got out of the boat and just trying really hard to make sure he went away. Now, he went away, but I don't know how he went after he went away.
But that's the thing, mate.
So it's all a learning curve, but I do not like that I just through negligence and naivety,
you can't blame yourself.
That fish could well have been dead within hours, maybe. I don't know.
You don't know. And the thing is, the thing that I picked up probably from watching early fishing shows is they used to splash the carpet in the middle of summer before
Every
they
day.
bring fish on top.
There you go.
Yeah.
Cool it off. Yeah.
Cool. Like that's why, I mean, on top of making your brag mat slick, it makes it cool.
Exactly right.
Cool your brag mat off and always dip 'em.
That-
Always dip 'em.
That is an absolute great one for our listeners. Like,
Yeah.
if you got a good fish, wet the brag mat.
Yeah.
Like, and that don't mean just a good fish. If you're going to measure a fish,
Always
wet your brag mat. It means a lot to the fish. It's easier to fucking release it.
I imagine
So, like-
you boys in the same spot as me. I don't measure a lot of fish anymore. I only measure the good ones.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I reckon
You catch
nowadays
fish
I've
and-
caught
nah.
enough fish that nowadays 95% of what I catch doesn't hit a mat.
No.
It's like
Yeah,
cool.
that's true.
If it looks pretty decent, get a photo for a bit of fun. And back in the drink, I don't even think I photograph that many fish anymore. I couldn't be. It sounds. It's not arrogant. It's just like I'm not there for photos. I'm there for fun. It's
Yeah.
like cool. You know, fucking dun 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 dun. You're under pressure, Rubes. Get that under the water, and I'm flicking again. I want that next one.
Yeah.
But I don't make use of the mat much anymore unless it's a proper fish.
Yeah.
Whatever species.
This is a very good point I've got, right? So, obviously, us being fishermen and everyone listening, they're fishermen, right? You can whack that fish on a brag mat, whatever. You can get the measurement, but it's not so much getting that measurement to brag to your mates. It's that memory.
Yeah.
So
That's it.
you're like, you know what? I got a good fish. Yeah, I didn't get the measurement on it, but you know what?
You're right.
I'm gonna guess he was a say 90. And they can, oh, well, you didn't get it on the brag mat. Well, that's not the case. We were there full of memory. That fish is happily living back in the river, back in the dam. And you're like, well, there you go.
Yeah.
That fish
Yeah.
is there for you to catch next time.
It's kind of cool because you know this whole new generation with our phones and everything and online, the old Pixar didn't happen.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't give a fuck because I know it happened.
Yeah.
That big fella that was chasing up that 61 centimetre yellow under the boat, he never bit it, but biggest fish I've seen so far to date. I don't give a fuck that I was on my own because I know it happened.
Yeah, that's right.
Exactly.
And it's like,
And it's a great memory, and it's also it's like fuel to keep going. Like I want to find you. I'm coming back.
but the other thing is like, you post a good fish on socials or whatever, and people are like, oh, how long to go? How long to go? It's like, overall, it doesn't matter, mate.
It doesn't, does it?
Yeah.
Like to us, like every now and then we do not measure them, and it's like, I don't care. That was a fantastic fish. I got a happy snap with it within 30 seconds. It's back in the water where it's meant to be, and you're chuffed with it.
Yeah.
But people are like, oh, how long to go? And I was like, mate, I couldn't tell you.
Mate, I took
Fantastic
the father-in-law
fish,
a few
mate.
weeks out to Burrendong ago, and we picked up some nice big yellows, dropped a heap others. And I realised afterward, didn't have a single photo, didn't do a single measure.
Yeah.
And the only regret I've got about that is I haven't got photos of my father-in-law and enjoying that for in the
Yeah,
future when
yeah.
he or me, and both of us eventually, are no longer around.
Yeah.
But that wasn't for socials. That wasn't for anyone else. That was time together.
You're
That's
capturing
the stuff that is
enjoyment.
gold.
Yeah.
That is
exactly
gold.
right. Yeah,
What?
it's
So, you know, get over the phones. It says me sitting here with me notes on my phone going. But,
What-
yeah, you know, we don't do it for the likes.
Yeah. What do you got? You got a video up as or something, do you?
like, this is me meter 17, right? So I'm just going
He's
to
got a
play the
video.
audio. It's a video.
Fuck, let it go, mate. There's bigger out there.
Exactly right. And that's right, mate. But like you can understand the happiness.
We
in
get it. You got a meter 17 meter fish. Rub it in, okay? We get it.
You'll smash me. You'll smash me.
One day, mate. One day.
So I'll
We're
play
always
this.
chasing an upgrade.
Yeah.
Mind the swearing. You can obviously tell I'm excited, but have a listen to this. It's me walking up the bank.
Oh, wow. Yeah, he's huffing and puffing.
Woo! Get ready.
That is a bucket now.
Oh, it's bad. It gets worse.
So it's on a bone
That's your mad
focus.
fish. Fucking oath. Fit me it in the cup.
The bone focus looks like a
Okay.
pimple on the side of its mouth.
I'm trying to get bitter.
I get it. I can relate to the euphoria of a big fish.
But can you sound how
Your
fat I
brain-
am puffing?
That's why I fish out of a boat, mate. I don't need to do the walking.
I was fucked.
But the euphoria of when your brain starts to comprehend exactly what you've just caught, and you start to like put it into scope and go, holy crap. It's a pretty special thing, you know. A bloke doesn't know the feeling until a bloke's had the feeling, I guess.
Yeah.
And I thought I knew until I cracked that metery. And since then, I've gone well. I've gone on metre 12, and it's really funny. These fish are so unique. Each and every one of them are individual.
Yeah.
The metre 12 broke two big boys. Me and Jamie Judd makes gobsmack lures, and we were trialling out some timber swim baits he'd made to see if they actually catch fish. Looked good, swam good.
Yeah.
And he reached out to me and Rubes. We were having a really good run at Windermere. We're just banging a metre fish every run.
Wow.
We were just
That's
having
unreal.
like I had one morning there. I grabbed a 97 first cast on
Stop it.
in the dark, off the bank, well out, wide, as we're silently coming in, you know, kill everything and come in silent on the edge. And I had a sideways, don't even give a rat's ass cast to make sure that everything mechanically was working.
Yeah.
And so I'm just making sure the line's clean, I'm happy, reel's good, and I whacked a 97 on the first damn cast of the day in the dark.
Yeah.
So we had a red-hot run. We were going through a real good patch, and Jamie reached out saying, I've got these ideas, making these jointed swim baits out of timber, and Jamie makes a good lure. He's currently not in operation.
Yeah.
I do hope that he
They're
fires
a pretty big
back
lure,
up.
though. What were they?
He'll make
Gobsmack
everything and
top
anything.
lure.
Oh, look, he's...
The one I've seen in your cabinet and Az's
Leviathan.
cabinet. Yeah, your Leviathan. Well, how long are the Leviathan?
Yeah, you
220.
got a 125 and a 185 in the Leviathan on the surface.
Yeah.
Oh, I say 220.
Because they're a paddle.
Okay.
What are they? 225, are they?
125,
285.
185. For his
Oh.
standard
Oh.
stuff in 3-joint, and the hardware on those things would pull a fucking jumbo jet.
Yeah.
He makes a very, very good lure. He hardens them in concrete fastener stuff as well. He soaks the timbers.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
He's a concreter by trade. So he used what he had on hand, and it just makes the timbers so hard and durable. My favourite surface lure is the 125 Leviathan in a gunmetal.
Yeah. Because it's the
I lost it on the fingers chasing that big fella recently. I got a buff from him actually, but he missed the hooks, and then I fucking snagged it, lost it.
Because they're the front paddler with like
That's right.
three, 4 joints. Yeah.
Yeah, Perspex bib on the front.
Yeah.
And 3 joints to them, and the hardware, the double eyelets between every joint. He's got double eyelets on each segment joining up with heavy duty split rings, top and bottom. So he's got 2 serious joiners.
Heavy tackle.
Mate, if you could find a gobsmack lure that gets pulled, I think you found a record fish that no one's seen before. They are
That
you
heavy
could swing my
duty.
Land Cruiser off one, fair dinkum.
Yeah.
They are that heavy duty, and the hooks as well. He uses good stuff. Anyways, Jamie wanted us to swim these swim baits he was making out of timber, jointed, same sort of hardware. They look good, and we said, I'll tell you. He rang me up and I said, I'll do you one better. How about you come fishing? He's like, mate, the worst part of the lure maker's life is they lament the fact they love fishing so much and they make good lures. And they're in demand, they've got no time to go fishing. Yeah. And he's like, I can't remember the last time I went fishing. I said, well, that seals it. I'm going to take a bit of leave from work, like extra day for a long, long weekend, and we're going over to Windermere. We'll bring this stuff over. I want you to come with us. My shout. I'll pay for the cabins and stuff. I just want you to come with. You're giving us proto lures to try out.
Yeah.
So I got Redfellow and I got Reuben. We had 2 boats and I had Jamie. And down we went. We had a few days there. Pissed rain the first day. Me and Jamie got down there. Reuben and Red kept going. We got halfway and I turned around, went back to the cabin, had coffee and stayed in the warm, and me and Jamie got dry. And this pair of other knuckleheads, they stayed out in the filthy cold rain, fucking soaked like a pair of half bloody mongrel dogs when they come back. No, where were you? Up here, mate. Where were you?
Yeah.
Down there trying to catch fish. Okay, good on you. Anyway, we had a couple of good sessions. The boys had to leave earlier and me and Jamie stayed on just with my tub. So really good thing to watch him whack I think it was like a high 90s, like an 89 was the first fish we got on these things, and he whacked an 89.
Yeah.
And strangely enough, the behaviour, I reckon I sounded that fish 300 metres back from where it hit on a bank.
Yeah.
And we were trolling at this time. I said, look, let's cover some ground. I want to find some fish and some bait. And then when we find really what I want, then we'll start casting. Because some of those dams, you'll actually smell fish smell. And that's where we really want to pepper.
Yeah.
And so I was looking for that smell, and I was looking at the sounder, looking for some decent marks and some bait fish. And I reckon I sounded this fish on the edge. I was like, oh, there's a good one there. Hang on. And we went. We got to the very end of the run, right off the point of this edge. And then his rod buckled. Bang. I was like, fuck, there's been nothing on the sounder since then. It's like, do these fish follow for a long time before they whack? And I think this one did. 89. So good to see the lure maker with his idea come to life, catching a fish. He's holding it. He's a big boy, Jamie, and it was a big fish. It still looks big in a big boy's arms. I whacked another one a bit later that night. Pretty good session. It was like 87. Okay, cool. These things work. He needs the photos. He needs the photos to get the product out. And then he was like, it was last morning, and like we're in a bad place. Like, he wants the prize fish, would really seal the deal. We goes out just on first light, good edge, smelled like fish. It smelled like fish. We had a bad night before. I'd run out of fuel. Batteries were flat. We ended up having to drive back into Mudgee, and that was another shit story. But we got through it.
Yeah.
Next morning, whacked the fish, metre 12. Now, it's 1 centimetre smaller than that big fella I first got, 113.
Yep.
But me and Jamie are two big boys, and in that big cod net, when we eventually were ready to lift into the boat for the photos and the measure, we could feel the silicone segments of the net popping, breaking in our fingers.
Wow.
He was that heavy that the net was stretching like a big sock before eventually he'd come out of the water and in.
Yeah.
And I struggled to lift him up. So they're just a totally different class of fish. Every single one is different. And this thing was the heaviest fish I've definitely ever held.
Yeah.
And he was
Even
this
for that
much smaller.
Metre 12, it was so much heavier fish.
Yeah, I had to buy a new net. Like, you're welcome, Bomber. You're welcome, Aaron. I had to go and get a new net because this fella we were popping around our fingers, spreading our fingers out on the net.
But how good's this? Like, Link will back me up here. So that weekend, I ended up going to Windermere.
Yeah.
And so Jamie and fucking Link, they were in a cabin.
Yeah.
And I said, righto, boys, I'll fucking meet you for a few beers and shit talking for the night. Yeah, righto, let's go. So I've gone up and I said to Link, and it was the day I showed you how I tied my stingers for yellow.
That's right.
And we're in the cabin with Jamie and Link, and I was like, yeah, this is how I tie my stingers for yellows if you don't get cod, blah, blah, blah. And they said, mate, you got to tie cod. And I said, I hate this thing for cod. I can't do it. Anyway, next morning they conned me into it. 4 o'clock in the morning, I've gone out. And I fished this bank, right? And I fished it hard as shit because I know I'd seen cod on it. Mm. And, like, I shit you not, I reckon I spent 3 hours on this bank. Anyway, Link was, you were driving. So Link was driving and he's come up. And after about 4 laps of this bank, I said, nah, shit house. I'm going back to Yellows. Mm-hmm. And I'd seen Link and Jamie and they were like, oh, I said, hey, he's going, boys. Oh, nothing yet. And I was like, oh, yeah, nah, same here. I said, we got fuck all. I'm going back to Yellows. No sooner, this is the same bank. Link will know this shit. Same bank I just fished for hours. Mm-hmm. I'd left. I've gone, you know, fuck it. I'm going to chase some fucking yellows. I'm going to chase some real fish. and anyway, we get back to it was about 11 o'clock. I met the boys as they were packing up on the Sunday morning. I said, hey, how'd you go? He said, we got the metre 12.
Metre 12, yeah.
I was like, please tell me this wasn't on the bank. I just pumped for 3 hours. And I was like, it was.
Yeah.
I was like, get fucked.
Yeah.
So these boys, shit you not, I threw my ass out on that fucking bank. I was heartbroken. I could have curled up in a ball. And these boys have banged this fish off this bank.
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what? Good on you. Like, well done.
Yeah.
I said I really put the hours onto that bank because of the same fish.
Yeah.
You guys went past it and banged one. And that's the
fishing,
sport
isn't it?
too. Like, you gotta understand that one more cast. One more cast thing.
One last cast.
And you know what? That time of the year, there really is the pattern. I call it the window, when the window opens.
Yeah.
And then we say the window's closing. And it's not perfect. We caught fish outside the window. Rubes has caught one way wide, a big metre fish one time. But there's a real pattern of that first light.
Yeah.
There's no sun up, but it's first proper light. And it's the coldest part of the day too. And that window in the dead of winter is just optimal.
Yeah.
And this fella was textbook that way. and we could smell the fish.
Just as soon as like the
we could smell fish in the air. You could actually literally smell fish from the bait, and the bait was heavy on the sounder.
Yeah.
And we'd come past there the night before looking for this bait, and all my usual spots, I couldn't find it. It was really unusual, of course. The one time I'm fucking talking big and, and there's something could come out of this for a bloke to help him out. They're not where they're supposed to be. But on the way back, thankfully, I ran out of fuel. Like, we had to go back on a near-dead front battery.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and barely made it back, and then I couldn't find the car keys. That's a funny story. So I couldn't find the car keys. I rang up Mark, the park owner, at like fucking buttfuck AM, and he answered it, thankfully. He's like, I know something's wrong if Link's ringing, something's up. Otherwise, he wouldn't answer it. I was like, I'm fucking locked out of the car. We're out of fuel. We're out of fucking battery. We're nowhere near the ramp. We've just like beached the boat and we've walked because we're fucked. And like that night, actually, a couple of snowflakes came down in the headlamps, like the tiniest of snowflakes at Windermere of all places. It was that cold. But because we were where we were when that happened, we actually saw the bait fish. I was like, fuck, if we can get another session here, this is where we're coming, because this is what I've been looking for the whole weekend. But the funny story of that was I walked up to where the car was. I'm like, with the headlamp, fuck, maybe I like left them in the door, something stupid. I'm a bit absent-minded sometimes. No fucking keys. Keys aren't in the car. Car's locked. Yeah, I took them. And then Jamie come down in his Polaris with a big light bar on the top.
Yeah.
Way off the water's edge on the ramp, and I could see this glint in the water at the ramp, and I'm like, what's that? And I went down with my headlamp, and I called Jamie and I called Mark and I said, you have to see this because no one's going to believe this. And I took my Ugg boots off and rolled up my bloody 4 layers of my long johns and everything else, and I waded out to just so that calf deep, reached in, and picked up my car keys. They're falling out of my pocket. When we've launched that afternoon, they're falling out on the ramp. Thank God Windermere is such a clear waterway that I saw they're there on the ramp and no one else had driven over them. They still work perfect to this day. But if I didn't have witnesses, no one would believe that everything that could have gone wrong went wrong and then fixed itself up.
Yeah, everything came right.
It was wild, but we got that fish the next morning and good lures. I hope Jamie goes back into lure making.
Yeah, no, so do I.
In my opinion, I think he makes the best, toughest cod lures in Australia.
Tough as hell.
And they work.
Yeah, 100%.
They work. He's just a top fella to go with it. He's the nicest bloke I could ever wish to meet. So that was a cool trip.
And you've said before, like, you've got a few theories about cod, and this is something you've said to me before, and it kind of clicked with me about you smelt fish.
Sure did. Smell it a lot over there.
And a lot of people I've said this to over the years, they're like, what do you mean he smelt fish? I'm like, you can pull up on a bank and it just smells like
it smells fishy.
It doesn't smell like dead fish. It smells like I reckon it smells like piss.
Do you?
Yeah, like that fishy smell, it's like either the urea in the water or
maybe.
It's like...
You know what it is for me, mate? Growing up on the coast, go to the fishing co-op, you can smell a co-op a fair way off because there's so much fish in there.
Yeah,
I can smell fish.
Yeah, like...
it's fresh. It's not rotten fish. It's fish.
Yeah, it's fish. Like, if you pull a fish out of the water and you start filleting it, that's the smell that you're talking about.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So...
And that has guided, I literally follow your nose. We have caught that many fish by following our nose. Like, I think we're going to stop here because it smells fishy.
It smells fishy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we caught some corkers very frequently doing that.
Yeah. Then what do you think's behind that? Like, for me, it's like, okay, a big fish is here. Okay, you can't smell a fish unless it's out of the water.
You know, I can't answer it, but I've had thoughts of why it does smell fishy. I wonder if there's... Because you can see when your sounder lights up with the bait fish, there's a lot of bird life over at Windermere.
Yeah.
I sometimes wonder, are the birds, because you see them often feeding in the daytime, are they eating all this fish, stuffing themselves? Are they shitting the fish smell out with their excrement? Like, is that the fish smell on the standing timbers on the banks? But apart from I can't answer it. But it comes and goes. Like, and then when you go into a place that often smells fishy and it doesn't smell fishy and you look on the sound, there's no bait there.
Yeah.
And then you'll come to a new spot and you're like, it smells fishy. And your sounder lights up. So I couldn't tell you why, but if that's a clue for fellas who are trying to crack at least the dam code, we use that. It's not always a guarantee. Having said that, a lot of the time, our big fish have come out of Windermere because it's literally, it smells fishy here.
Yeah.
Ben Chifley.
I thought you were half serious for a second there. Hey, we have yarned on for a long time here.
Oh, you have?
Do you want to have a talk about that lure and try to wrap it up? Because blokes will be going, this bloke can't shut up.
We love it. This is the talk that I dream about. I love talking like this.
This has been cool. I wasn't sure
He
what to
just loves
expect, but this
talking
is
smack.
this is easy. Like, I was thinking, oh God, I don't know. I've got nothing to talk about. This is cool.
No,
This is
it's just
Mate, it's
chatting, mate.
We're
It's just
all
fucking
about-
having a yarn.
we're all about the boys wanting to get
having a
around a
yarn.
campfire.
it's good
Yeah.
fun. It's good fun.
And all fucking share
Couple
a
of-
bit of knowledge.
Couple of little fresh bevies has been good.
Oh yeah, I'm not gonna lie to all the listeners. We've what's this? We've done a liter of JD.
Yeah.
What did we start with before
a litre
this?
of JD, it's about it.
Well,
Link's had a couple of ginger beers over the time.
Yeah,
alcoholic ginger
fantastic.
beers. Yeah. But we'll come back to this lure. So Link has donated this lure to the Mental Health Lure Board, and it is unreal. So just to describe it, there's like a hardwood plinth type plaque thing, and it's carved out perfectly for this lure to sit in it. And the lure is a diving lure. It's got a bib on the front, and it's a barty grub. It's a barty grub done in a sort of a pearl, whitish, greenish, with purple splotches through it and green on the side. It's beautiful.
Like-
Fits perfectly inside this.
Give us a run through
Black.
on this lure, mate, because
So
it's pretty
tell us
special.
about. Tell us about.
Yeah. Look, I fell in love with it. I guess bought it back in 2016 for the maker Clayton Cool. He makes sandfly lures up in Dalby, that southeast Queensland area. I don't know him real well. I met him at the Lure Expo. I bought it from him a month or two before and said, I'm going to the expo. I know you're setting up there. Hang on to it and I'll pick it up from your stall when I'm coming.
Yeah.
Lovely old timer, very much an old cod fisher. And I fell in love with it. It reminds me of like a fence post, the old hardwood on there. And it's a stand, and it's been in my display cabinet since then when I brought it home. So one of those pride of place, really display pieces.
Yep.
The folks listening who want to know and follow you fellas will see it on the socials when you put it up.
Yeah, for sure.
He signed the bib as well, which is nice, and he sort of got the date somewhere back in March or something, or June in 2016. It's got a bit of barbed wire rusted wrapped around it, and a bit of wire genuine, bit of a, looks like a staple or something.
yeah.
But for me, I think, and I hope blokes out there who want to go have a go, when this goes to auction to raise some funds for men's mental health and mental health in general,
Amen.
it got me in my early days of cod fishing when I started to get introduced to it out here, when I realised there are fish to be caught. Because for a number of years when I first moved out here, everyone said it's shit, they're ruined, there's carp, river's filthy, full of droppers, and it kind of was back in those days. But the fish are still there. And the first cod I ever caught was actually on a barty grub I grabbed from a bloke out at Narromine. I was working out there, and he had a little sign out the front of his his letterbox, barty grubs for sale. And I'd heard the kids and other blokes who fish talking about barty grubs, and I was like, no, check this shit out. So I grabbed a few barty grubs, went down fishing under a full moon, and I got my first cod down there. I remember it was the first wife. I rang her up in a mad tease, so come down here and bring an esky and bring the camera I need. It was the old roll photo, the film camera.
Yeah.
Get a photo of this elusive, for me, mysterious Murray cod. I hadn't grown up in this area. I grew up seeing freshwater fishing mags with Jamie Flett, who is the founder of Mud Eye Lures originally up in Inverell. He was the king of Copeton. He had these monsters draped over his knees in wintertime in the dark, this big ginger ninja with these giant things across his knees and his big Ugg boots up to the top of them. Cover photos, and I met Jamie years later through an old high school mate of mine who became good hunting mates with him and bought some lures from him when he still owned Mud Eye. But anyway, I caught my first Murray cod on a barty grub down here in the town strip under a full moon. And for me, seeing this lure, I guess it brings back that nostalgia and that connection to what we're doing. And these wood grubs and barty grubs are ubiquitous for generations with catching these really special fish. So this one, I just think it really wraps up the place for barty grubs in something we all love.
Yeah.
And I do hope that it can raise a few dollars to go toward a really worthwhile charity.
Yeah.
Myself personally, you got to look after yourself. I've had me ups and downs and challenges. And
As we all have.
every bloke does. I don't care how tough you think you are. And these little small gestures, hopefully they can help other fellas to stay well and look after themselves and look after their mates. So hopefully it's going to raise a few bucks for you boys.
Beautiful sentiment, and thank you so much for the contribution to the mental health lure board.
It's a pleasure.
It is unreal.
Nice.
And as soon as you see a photo of it, you'll understand because it is.
Yeah. You can fish it, but it's meant for display. But whoever wants it, you do what you like with your own stuff, you know. But yeah, it's a nice piece.
That's pretty cool, mate.
Beautiful.
Like I said, my pleasure, lads. You're doing a great job. This is good fun.
Cheers, mate.
One more shout out with that. Like, we're all fishermen. We all know the struggles. Every bloke, every female has dealt with it. And just to give a little bit of help out to the blokes that are really struggling, it means a lot.
Look, I'm going to open up. I'm actually just starting my own journey with a few things going on.
Yep.
And 47 years of age, it's taken near that long to finally ask for the help I need with stuff I can't manage around some PTSD.
Yeah.
And it's really incredible to finally have, it's not weak to talk about it.
No.
To start realising when you ask for the help and you're fully authentic and available about, look, this stuff's there, this happened. I don't know, it takes a huge weight off your mind you didn't even know was there. So if even just sharing this with one bloke out there, anyone, just ask for the help because there's a really good life to be had if you've got struggles.
You got to reach out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to acknowledge that it's there and then it gets better.
Yep.
And I can individually, personally speak for that to go, you carry it so long, you don't even know you're carrying it. You get used to the weight and not realise that there's better to be had.
Yep.
But you're exactly right. There's a responsibility on the individual to go, it's okay. You're okay. Everyone goes through stuff, but you don't have to do it on your own. Get the help.
No, that's right.
Get the help.
Yeah.
Because it's good help. It's good. There's a good life to be had.
Yes, we're here for the mental health thing, but start with your mates. Talk to your mates. Talk to your mates.
Absolutely.
Have a beer with them.
Well, you're the
Open
first
up.
blokes I've told about that stuff, you know.
Exactly.
And everyone else
mate.
listening, hey, g'day. It's silly, but it's real.
This is pointing the average out. Me and Dane, we're privileged. We get messages on our socials, and if you ever feel like it, message us.
Yeah.
We can help you.
Yeah.
We've both been through it. That first reach is the hardest, isn't it?
It's damn hard.
Every time. Yeah. Yep.
You get that first reach out of your life, then it becomes a little bit cruisier.
For me, I'll say the first reach was real hard and huge fear factor, like I guess judged or, thought there's something wrong with you. And then instantly afterward, it's like this huge release.
Yeah.
A weight is lifted and it just gets better and better with the help.
Yeah.
It does, yeah. Don't be scared.
It's such a funny thing. Like you fellas are young pups to me. And you're smarter pups than me because you've already worked it out, and it's great that you're doing what you're doing. And hopefully, any listeners who have struggles with negative thoughts or feeling not good enough can realise that you're not meant to think that way, and it's okay if you are.
Yep.
Because
it is. Yeah.
There's things that can be done with the right people to start living a really healthy, well life. You boys are way ahead of the curve than me, but I've got there. I'm doing it, And any other fella out there that may know me, I'm also welcome for you to reach out. I can share my story with the bits that matter, but more importantly, to cheer you on and encourage you to go. Just take that first hard step.
It's the hardest step,
and then wait for the release of the weight.
No, I really appreciate it, mate. Like it's one thing me and Dane have tried to get across the line a long time is the first step's the hardest. You take it. Whether you deal with your fishing mates, your mates, whatever, go to the pub, have a beer with your mates.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Just get
Have
it
a
off your
chat.
shoulders to start off. Even though it might not lead to success, you've always got the backup.
And I'm going to throw another one in there too for the fellas who are lucky enough to have a better half.
Yep.
Yeah.
Talk to your missus. They chose you for a reason. They think you're great, even if you struggle to think sometimes maybe
Exactly.
they do or maybe you're not. Talk to your
Amen.
missus because where I was at, I had to choose a really hard choice with that release, which was I can pay the cost of keeping this secret and carrying it, or I can pay the cost of losing my family.
Yeah.
And I just weighed them up and went, there's not even a weight there. I will do anything, tooth and nail, for my family to keep them and do anything to prevent them from being hurt, even by my own struggles. So think of it that way and keep your missus in there. If you're lucky enough to have good missus, or, you know, if you've got a partner, trust them. They chose you for a reason because they know you're great.
Exactly. Mate, that's strong words. That is really strong words.
Mate.
Yeah, it's so good. Like, yes, everyone knows that listens to us that we're all about mental health, but it really is. Like, we all fish to get away from it.
Yep.
But we're also here
I reflected
doing a
on why
podcast.
I do that, and I know that that's part of the reason why I do it. Is it's like a space. It's a gap
You
from
get
some
away.
of the challenge.
Yeah.
But you don't actually escape the challenge. You just take a downtime from it. And I'm just putting a shout out before you edit me out to say that my missus is the best woman on earth.
That's great, mate.
And I just want to, if she comes across this, hear that, to go that, you know, she is a huge reason
God bless her.
that I'm on the path I'm on, because I finally decided to actually give her everything of me.
Yeah.
And not hold back this shit that you think
hold back
that's
a
a
little
bad
bit.
thing. You know, they're not going to want to be around you. They actually want to see you be your best self. So my missus, Marsh, you're the best.
Yeah.
I'll back Link up on that. Like, I honestly have a down to earth, absolute best missus I could ask for. She goes fishing me. She actually begs me to take her out on the weekend.
Yeah, rock and roll. Eh?
And to be
Aren't
honest,
they the best?
like Dane being my best mate. Like I said, we had our anniversary on Sunday,
Congrats, mate.
Yep.
Good on you.
Thanks, mate.
That's awesome.
and Dane being the mate he is, of course he did. My old boat. I sent him a message. I said, mate, anniversary's on Sunday. Mister wants to go fishing at Barndong. Can I
Cool.
take your boat? And Dane
Of course you
back,
can, mate. Anytime.
There was no questions asked.
That's what buds do, mate.
Dane is. Well, I couldn't ask for a better mate.
Exactly.
Oh,
You won't get my
stop
fucking
it,
boat,
mate.
but Dane's a
Stop
champion.
it.
No, that's
100%.
That is awesome.
So I've taken the missus out on my old boat. We went fishing, caught ABLers, and mate, she had a fat time. Absolute fat time. And
That's the memories, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't care about
Memories.
the pics. It happened.
Yeah.
Pics don't mean dick.
That's right.
It happened.
That's
and you
right.
guys shared it.
Memories.
And how good's fishing for that? You make these mates for life. We connect over this stuff.
Yep.
You know,
And if you can't tell-
we, you know, it's like we're soldiers, mate. We're tribal. We're primitive creatures, us blokes, and we need a tribe. We can't do it on our own.
no, we can't.
But we're all shoulder to shoulder. We're all out there looking out for each other. We want the best for each other, and we got each other's backs because, you know, that stupid old saying, which is very true. No man's an island. And,
No,
and
exactly.
the fellas who are doing it on their own,
Yeah.
just come to your senses.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
your mates are there because
It's
they're
such
your
a-
mates. They like you. They
Yeah.
think
It's-
you're awesome, and they want the best for you.
Yeah. No, that's
And you
exactly
two,
right.
you're a pair of knuckleheads.
So, how did I stirred you up, mate, when you come pick up the boat? Remember, I stirred you up a fair bit.
Right, so I'm going to read you guys a few messages here.
Go on.
Okay, so, righto. So he said, just make sure you move the fire and pump out of the way, please. This is when I was picking
Yeah,
up
I
the
just
boat.
bought a fire pump for the property so we can fight fires if we ever have one on the property. But anyway.
Charges next to the boat. New oil is in the back hatch. Take my rods out if you want to make it easier to store yours.
Yep.
I said, yeah, too easy, mate. Easy. Give me a call if you get stuck. I've counted the gulp in the tubs and the jig heads, so don't go using them. It gets better. Make sure to keep it under 60 kilometres an hour, especially while towing it. Don't use the live scope. Please, I don't want to wear it out. And all I said to him was like, mate, that is a long line of the week. He said, have fun, you dog. Make sure you pull at least 600 out. I said, and this is still Dane. Make sure you trim it up as soon as you get to punch it too.
Oh, crikey.
That's how you get my plane, boys.
I was like, make sure. I said, I'll make sure I throw a floppy. He said, what the fuck is a floppy lure? He said, you see the 68 centimetre yellow that got caught in the Insta? I said, yes, exactly right. He said, well, make sure you flog the fuck out of it. You've got the nitro. Thanks for coming.
Beautiful. Right, boys.
Yeah.
We might
Don't get it wet. You're welcome to it, but don't get it wet.
Right, boys.
Oh, I love it.
Well, it might end on that, eh?
You boys are legends. You're doing a great job. This has been great fun.
Oh, I've loved it every second.
Yeah, amen.
Likewise.
Yeah, it's good shit.
Doing good.
Well, we'll see you next week. Well, in 2
Thanks,
weeks.
guys. Love yous and leave yous.
See ya.
Awesome.
Bye.